You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well. It's about to be a new month. We into November now. And what a month, what a season. Fall is here, okay? Fall is like here. The weather is just definitely getting a little chilly. I was getting excited in the beginning of October because, the weather was, it was a couple a little windy, a little whatever, a little rain, whatever. But I was like, I can still hold on to some of these cute, short sleeve summer shirts that I got. I was really feeling the flavor. And I love my, paisley shirts. I love my prints. I love my designs. And I just didn't want to let go of them. And now I'm realizing, well, actually, I can still hold on to them because for some reason, I don't know. I have this thing where I feel like a lot of short sleeve shirts I have the wildest prints and designs that don't necessarily always translate into long sleeve shirts. And now I'm in this mindset of like, could I get away with wearing like a denim jacket or a heavier jacket and then wearing a short sleeve shirt, under it and still being able to have that pattern, first world problems. But it was just something that crossed my mind the other day. I tried it out last night. I was on a lovely date night with my husband. We went to Vernick Fish. That sounds so fun, husband. We went to Vernick Fish and it was incredible. And we're going to be doing like sushi tonight with one of my besties. Well, a couple of my besties actually. We're going out to Fiji Mountain, which I think I've ordered it from Caviar, but I haven't went to the restaurant and had the experience. So I'm looking forward to that tonight. A lot of great things going on in the works. So we're just celebrating across the board. One of my homegirls, she got a new job and she's loving it and she's just doing her thing. And we're so excited for her. So it's a lot of good celebrations and there's always something going on in my life and whatnot. But I'm just super excited for her, just beyond the stars. What else is okay? So I was debating if I was going to tell y'all this. I'm very particular, but I said, I'm going to say this like one time. I want to do a lot of things. This episode, listen, I was excited about doing this episode. I'm excited when I do every podcast episode, but there was an anxiousness, like I want to, I need to get to the mic. Like I had, some episodes I do, I'm like, look, it's the show. Let's do our thug thizzle. Let's just make it happen. But this one, I was like, I am itching. Like all this week, there's been stuff going on, and some of you have seen it. You've seen it. You've been seeing some of the things. The blogs are talking. Twitter, Instagram. People are talking, and I was itching, but I just. Something is happening in my life and I need to just say it now because I know that you're going to probably notice changes probably within the next couple of months and people are going to, be like, what happened? And I just need to just let you all know what it is now so that we don't have to have any of those gossipy questions. Y'all ready? Okay. A moment. Because I just need to let y'all know this now. This is important. I did it, y'all. I finally did it. I bit the apple and I bought a fucking Peloton, y'all. I bought a Peloton bike. Yes, I got a Peloton. It was on sale, though. It was on sale. I got the Peloton Plus and, we had a lot of nice people give great wedding gifts, and Mr. Johnson and I put some of the money. We had enough money. We got a nice amount of generosity. Well, when you have a big wedding with people that are lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs, and folks, they're very generous. So we put a good amount of money into our joint account just to have, and then we did some stuff with honeymoon, even though some of that was already paid for. And then we just had some extra. So what I did with my side, I said, let me invest in a Peloton bike. I'm 30. I want to, do something more active. I'm not an outside runner person. I don't like to work out or do any type of physical activity around other people. For me, it's intimate. I know some people love that. Like, they love spin cycle, soul cycle, all the cycles. They love all the gym stuff. They like to be around other people and all that sweatiness. I look at it more as an intimate thing. I'm like, look, I want to be able to just really go there. But I think it's just something by myself. I just don't like it. I've always had an aversion to like working out with other people. It's just, I mean, some people like it. It boosts their morale. I don't need it. I just need some good music. I just need to be in a good space that allows me to do my thing. And that's what I need. And I feel like Peloton fulfills all of those check marks. Plus, I like bike riding. I've always wanted to bike. I mean, I used to ride bike when I was really young and roller skates. I love that kind of movement. And if this city did not have so many bad drivers and crazy stuff going on, I would be invested in probably cycling. But I just don't like biker culture in Philadelphia. I just don't like all of that outdoor riding stuff because there's just too much going on. But I still wanted to do it. And so for a long time, I've had my eyes set on Peloton. I did my research, watched my videos, all the little stuff, line up to your hip, all that crap. I'm going to let you all know right now, because I'm going to make this very clear. Do not send me DMs doing the whole, you got a Peloton bike, we should take a class together. I don't want to take a class with you. And it's not personal. It's not that I don't like you. It's not that I don't rock with you. It's just that for me, this is just personal. This is like my own intimate thing. I don't want to be sharing tips. I don't want to do recipe. It's not like that. I just want to do my thing. And this is part of the reason why I wasn't even going to say anything, but it's like, no, people gonna, if I lose weight and, certain things, I start looking a little bit, whatever, slimmer, whatever. I don't need people being like, what he been doing? You just never know out here. Okay. So I was like, let me just let y'all know. Yes, I'm riding Peloton. It's not about, oh, I'm fat, I need to lose weight. It's not that kind of thing, y'all. It's like more so that I want to do more. I just want to do something different. I want to try something. And the bike, I was fascinated with it. And I've used to love riding bikes when I was younger. And it was just something I always wanted to do. Plus, I just wanted to find a way to integrate more physical activity just in general. Because I just like how it felt. And I feel like when I went to, during my honeymoon, there's Four Seasons have a lovely gym. And I just wanted to get on that bike. I think they have it. I don't know if it was a Peloton or something, but it was something similar to a Peloton. And I fell in love with that thing. I couldn't put it down. I was like, oh, this is really nice. I want one of these. And so I got one. So I was like, yeah, I found my groove. Because for a long time, I was so busy. But two, I wasn't inspired to do the gym thing. Now, my husband is all into that. He has a gym membership. He runs, you could catch him running, probably early in the morning. He loves it, but he's not like a gym rat, like, oh, I'm in there, I got gym bros. He's very much the person that goes in there, put in that work, and then dip. But I don't know. I just never got into it that much. I have cute fit gear. I have some cute shorts and some, pants and tanks. But I don't know. I just always felt like it was just an extra thing. And so my mindset was always, I'll just change my diet and eating, and that will be all I want to do, just to maintain weight, which I've done. But I just, I want to take it to the next level. So it's fun. It's exciting. It's a new thing. I want to get in the groove of it before the new year. Everybody does all this New Year resolution. I feel like with stuff like this, you want to at least do, get familiar with it for 2 months, 3 months, get your groove. And so my plan is for the rest of the year, I want to get in the groove with Peloton, figure out, what my flow is, get out of the beginning phase. And then as I get into 2022, I can hit the ground running and really, feel like a pro at it. I am a fast learner. It's like, I want to get familiar with it. And it's something that's personal. It's something that's just like, I just want to do it. I'm not going to be one of these people. I promise you. You're not going to catch me on the damn fucking bike. I don't even know if I'm going to put the bike. I'm not even going to put the bike up on Instagram. They're supposed to be coming today to install it and put it up and all that jazz. I found a space in the house that's going to be my little, sanctuary. I mean, apparently these bikes are really good for spacing. And, the one I think I saw at Four Seasons, I was like, okay, this is manageable. I could fit this in the house. I could see the work. Plus, I got some really good, I got a really good discount and all that jazz. So it just was a perfect situation. And yes, I got the mat, I got the weights, I got the little jump rope, the heartbeat monitor, the earplug. Listen, I did go a little wild. And the shoes. Had to get the shoes. And that's the one thing I didn't realize is that with those bikes, you have to have a particular type of shoe in order to get on and stuff. So, I was like, okay, this is a thing. So listen, some people say, oh, you can get this online for cheap, whatever. Listen, you just got to stick with, you got to, listen, I said, listen, if I'm going to do the Peloton, I'm going to Peloton the fuck out. I did. But I did get some good discount codes though. Let's be clear. But, I said, let's do it. Again, just don't even ask me. Don't be like, hey, how's your Peloton journey going? I don't know what you're talking about. I just really don't want this to be a thing. But I felt like I did need to be radically transparent because one of my friends was like, child, I hear people go in that Peloton, the pounds start dropping, people go start asking what's going on. They go like, are you okay? Are you, they ain't gonna know what the tea is. So I was like, you right. Because long story short, a couple years ago, a friend of mine dropped a lot of weight. They just was working out, doing their thing or whatever. And people, and I'm in the gay community, y'all know, I'm queer. And so I got black folks. It's messy. People were speculating that it was drug use. It was not drug use. It was none of that. And they thought it was stress or something. They just thought other things. And that's sad that in this day and age, people just can't, listen, it's America, right? This is how people think, sadly. So it was a whole thing, but they were on their own private, wellness journey, fitness journey, whatever they were on. And it was sad that they didn't feel comfortable sharing that information out. And people thought the worst. And it's not that I care that much about it. It's just I was like, people just always sometimes want to see me in bad predicaments. Like they always want to assume something's a lurk. I never forget 2 years ago, was it 2 or 3? It was like 3 years ago. Yeah, right. It was 2018. I had left G Philly as the LGBTQ editor of Philadelphia Magazine. And I had made this announcement. I said, new things are coming on the horizon. Now, behind the scenes, the transition was from me to be from LGBTQ editor to writer at large, but we wanted to make those announcements separately so they didn't just be a big old clusterfuck jam of what's going on. It was supposed to be a nice transitional break. And so that's how the rollout was planned. Now, on the other end though, I love to surprise people. Clearly, I'm full of surprises. I got surprises that's coming next Friday that I can't talk about right now, but there's going to be a big old surprise next Friday. In November, first Friday of November is going down, y'all. First Friday, stay tuned. Anyway, surprises all the time. People began to whisper and say, oh, it's the end of the year. They got tired of that Ernest Owens and his articles about race. I heard that they fired him and he got cut and blah, 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 blah. It was just all these rumors and none of them were true. Lizzo's like, all the rumors are true. None of these rumors were true. It was like automatically people calling, hey man, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm feeling great. Yeah, I read the article. I'm happy, everything good. I'm like, yeah, everything's great. Okay, I've heard some things, but stay strong. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's just how people are. People will predict things and speak them out as if they know them to be true. And as a journalist and as a columnist, I make predictions, but I make it very clear that, hey, these are predictions based on these set of facts. There was no grounds or merit to suggest that any of those things that people were speculating was true. And then when Writer at Large happened, everybody's mouth shut. Literally, the announcement came, I think, a week after my announcement of me departing my LGBTQ editor post. The next week, then it was like, oh shit. Then everybody, all the same people that had shit to say, everybody got quiet. Haters shut up. Haters get quiet when the truth walks in. That's just how it works. And so, as a person who's going through these routes, I know how people will talk just based off of, just shit. So that's been an interesting observation, I will say. So yes, your fave has a Peloton bike. Your fave is going to be taking their own classes. your fave. You can follow your fave, but your fave is not following you back, or I might follow back. But like, it's intimate, y'all. It's just me. I'm not even, listen, here's how it's gonna work. I'm not even sharing this outside this podcast. So if you are a devout podcast listener of Ernestly Speaking, you know, and you only know. And maybe, who knows, maybe next year, if there's some major gains or whatever the case might be, I might share it to everybody else and whatever, but at least you know here first. So follow the journey. And wish me well, like I wish y'all well on your journeys. For me, it's just about finding new ways to be active and just do different things. And, as I enter 30, I want to do something I haven't done or committed myself to. I feel like 30 is a rebirth of new opportunities, or doing things, getting out of your comfort zone, or saying, look, I'm in a position where I'm blessed and fortunate to be able to afford a lot of different opportunities and things. And so my whole question is, it's not about what, it's about why not. So this is like my why not, like, why not? What's holding me up? So this is something I'm doing, and it's cool. Kind of like how I felt about writing a book, which has been going really, really well. It's the editing process is fun. And January 2023 cannot get here anytime soon, but we're just trying to get to January 2022, right? So much to talk about in this episode, y'all. Okay, one thing I want to say, updates, because everyone wants to talk about weddings. I mean, there is one big wedding surprise. Like I said, this next Friday. I can't share. I can't say anything, but I just want to prepare you all early that there is something huge, a dream that's come true. It's something that I think a lot of people dream of for their wedding. Some people, but it's something that I just never thought would happen, and it happened, and I'm going to lose my mind. So that's all I can say on that. But to one thing I can't talk about is this culture around wedding coats. So I put up a post on social about wedding coats, and it got people, some of my friends were like, oh my God, you talking about me? I'm like, no, I'm not talking about you, girl. But like, it's a thing that's become a phase over the past couple of weeks. We've been only married for like 2 weeks, officially. Yep. Yeah, today will mark the second week anniversary. Yeah. It's been 2 weeks of marriage, and so far so good, right? So this I guess this phase of being a newlywed is that people who you really don't even know, I don't know, they have this thing where they're like, oh, you should, congrats, we should do dinner. My wife and I and your husband, we should do dinner together. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Let me be very clear. It hasn't been queer couples, okay? It's been like a lot of cishet couples that I don't know. Now, let me preface this by saying I don't know them. But they're like, oh, you and your husband should do dinner with us. And I'm like, what? Or I've been invited to game nights where it's like, oh yeah, we do game nights, us and our married friends, let's get together. I'm like, I don't even know you. I wouldn't even go to dinner with you by myself. Who are you? Or like, I know them, but it's like, I just was overwhelmed, and I didn't know if it was a combination of clout chasing, which it is, or if it was a situation where this is a thing, and it is a thing. So I've talked to a couple of like newlywed folks who have had that experience, and it's always these older guard couples that's been married for 25,000 years, and they just, every time they see new couples, they just want to bestow wisdom on them and yada yada yada. And I think that might be cute if you're in the same network with said person, or maybe if like we was in the same social political like framework, maybe. But it just, I don't know. I just think it's so interesting because like people talk about marriage equality, and yes, of course marriage equality matters, but it's just that there's just a different flavor. I just think that in some cases, unless like I have built a relationship that just was already authentic with a cishet couple that I already knew and my husband know, and we already kind of have a vibe, it just doesn't make sense just to do it in the sake of we're married, you're married, let's go get dinner. It's just, I don't know. I just don't think, I don't know, people, I'm starting to notice things about marriage, not in my marriage, but just how people view it around the world. And it's mostly straight people that's just like irking y'all. Like y'all have this weird patriarchal obsession with marriage in ways that just are it's very cult-like, I must say. I think I wonder why so many straight people now, because I got to keep it 100, are very much anti-monogamy, because the way that y'all make marriage feel or how it looks sometimes, I can see why people think it is something they don't want to partake in. It's not, I mean, how I view marriage and how my husband, how we do it, it doesn't feel, our thought around it isn't this, whatever this thing y'all got going. It's weird. And I think that that's what makes me kind of cringe, because I'm like, ooh, the advice you all give it, you all treat this like, you know what I think it is? And this is, again, I'm telling you all from a queer married person perspective, because one of my besties, George, he's married to a man. We both are married to handsome black men. We talk about this, where we see this happen with a lot of cishet people, that when they get married, there's like this obsession and possession with, like, everything you do has to be you and your partner, you and your spouse. Now, I agree that when it comes to business and conversations about finances and health and all those internal things, yeah, that's a conversation you have to have with your partner. Like, y'all should be doing that together. But I think socially there is this mindset of, I gotta be at everything with my partner. Or people ask you questions like, where's your husband? As if you're supposed to turn around and be like, oh, I didn't know that there was a law that said must have husband with me at every damn thing I'm at, or vice versa. It's just weird how there becomes this ridiculous socialized codependency. And that's something that's not something we do. We've always been a couple, and even some of my friends, I look at that. We spend plenty of time together in the house. We spend plenty of time together in the bed. No pun intended. We spend lots of time together, like, especially during the pandemic. We spend a lot of time together, living together. He working in the living room, I'm working in the bedroom. We just do a lot of, or we are spending lots of time to each other. So I have a very wild, as you all know, journalism media career, that I go to events like 4 or 5 times a week. Something's always coming up. Mr. Johnson has his own bartending business, his own professional life. He can't come to all the things with me, and I can't come to all the things with him. And it's fine. One of the things that we agreed on as a couple is that we realized what are the things that we do feel like is a necessity, like a thing that we have to go to together that just makes sense. And that was always galas and company holiday parties and functions of that nature. So, like, the PABJ gala is in 2 weeks. We'll be going together, of course. Like galas and balls, stuff like that. Yeah, you naturally bring your plus one. That's a guarantee. But a media tasting event, I'm going with my besties. Like, I'm going with X, Y, and Z. Now, there's a restaurant that catches his eye, like, look, I know this is, you always go with your bros, but I really want to go to that. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's go together. And then we'll turn it into a date night. But that's a flow. And there's some people out here, man, they get married, everything is with their husband. But I don't want to throw shots. I just want to say that there are some people I feel like that before they got married, they didn't really have any friends. And when they got married, their husband was their best friend, their mother, their father, the cousin that they used to be friends when they child, it became their counselor. I don't believe in that, personally. I don't believe that you should put your spouse in a position where they have to occupy all of these neglected vacant seats in your life that you felt like need to be fulfilled elsewhere. It's an overcompensation. That's just my opinion. My husband is my husband. I have a best friend, but best friend is not the same as husband. Husband is a lot of things. And that you know what I'm saying? It's like a degree. It's like if you got a PhD, you got a master's degree, and I'm not saying in distinction of care and concern. I'm saying in the sense of like what that role is. And I think sometimes people conflate those roles. Like, I have a best friend. I have a couple best friends. I have a husband. I have a mother. Everybody has a role. And if you don't have a particular figure or role, that doesn't mean that you're incomplete. It doesn't mean that your partner should fulfill those other roles. It's just absent. Like, I don't have a father. Like, my father's dead. My biological father's dead. My stepfather is like, bye, sir, right now. My mom's, new partner. Well, let me clarify. So I had a stepdad that raised me when I was younger. And now I have a new stepdad who's my mother's dating now. He's great. He's cool. But I'm saying that like where my thoughts is that everybody had a role. And so you come to the mindset of each of these people play these different roles in your life and you recognize who's doing what and who's not. And that's how I feel about relationships. When you're married, whatever the case is, everybody plays a particular role. And I just think you shouldn't feel like you have to put whatever else is not present in that one person. And I see that's what's happening with a lot of couples that I observe is that literally this person becomes their entire life. And I don't think that. I think that marriage is a part of my life, but it's not my entire life. It's a part of it. It plays a role. It intersects. It's a part of who Ernest is all the way. Ernest is a son. Ernest is a husband. Ernest is a brother. Ernest is a journalist. Ernest is, it's one of the many things that make who I am. And I think that was the best advice I got from folks who had marriages that I actually admired, that you create, it's a part of the larger world. And yeah, and I think that's how you keep balance. I would say, people say, how does it feel to be married now? I say, well, I would say so far, I guess it's a continuation of what we've already been doing, except now, there is this sense of conviction, if that makes sense. Like there's this, I don't know, something about it feels, I don't know, permanent. And I don't know, that feeling alone, like that notice of like, this man has committed to being with me for the rest of my life. Like he's committed to being with me for the rest of my life. Like this man is like, he took a vow, right? That lifelong commitment, I feel like is what it's, I mean, people could do that without a wedding, y'all, I know, but I don't know, that feeling is just, that's the feeling of like knowing like, oh, this person is dead ass. And I know some would argue it doesn't take a ceremony, it should take paperwork. But listen, as someone who has seen many same gender couples fight at deathbeds, hospital rooms, to be able to have access to their partner if something happens or anything, nothing, I think, can replace or substitute the ability to have that kind of decision-making power for someone you love to save their life. And if you don't have the ability to do that, and you can, then I don't know. I would ask why. Some people listen to this podcast getting their life, and I'm getting my life talking about it because it's something. It's something I've thought about, and I've heard stories, and I always talk to a lot of my queer married folk, and we talk about that, like, power of attorney, things of like that nature. Stories I've heard before marriage equality was the law of the land, where you would see parents who kicked their kids out many years ago, then come to the hospital making decisions about them. When you got another partner who been there riding with that person and they have to sit outside of the room. Like that is, that's the straights have been having marriage forever. Okay. And y'all second guess it. Y'all don't care about the same way. We're going to talk about Will and Jada on the show. Trust me. We're going to talk about that. But I'm just saying, like, it's something different. And I think I've definitely taken a lot of time to reflect and think about this for many years. Okay. I didn't wake up one day being like, I'm getting married. No, we talked about this. We thought about this. We did all of that. So I want people to know, it's not as shallow and vapid as some people might treat it out to be. It could be something of real significance and substance, and we can't, underestimate that. So that's just, my 2 cents on that. So Leticia James, I've talked about her in earlier episodes, the AG over there in New York, the one that's been coming for everybody, Facebook, or Meta. Listen, I'm not going to give Mark Zuckerberg too much energy because he owns some bullshit. So now Facebook, the company, not Facebook as in the app, has now changed its name to Meta, as in the metaverse. I'm just tired of white men trying to ruin every fucking thing. Now you've colonized this continent. Now you're trying to fuck up and colonize the metaverse. God damn it, can you just leave something alone? Leave something alone. We can't have the world. Now we can have the fucking metaverse. Leave it alone, Mark. I'm just, You know, I wonder who his parents are, what they think of him. But like, good God, this man is just, and he looks worse every year. I don't know. That haircut he's having, I don't know. He just looks like the Crepe Keeper. I don't know. He just is a mess. And now he's got this damn metaverse thing. But apparently Instagram, Facebook, everything's going to still be under this company. So it's like the umbrella name, but it's not the name of Facebook. So anybody who's on the Facebook, of course, can still keep the Facebook name. But the company is no longer called Facebook. It's now called Meta. Groundbreaking. So Leticia has come for them. She's come for Trump. She's come for the NRA. She's come for a lot of folk. And now she is running for governor. I told you, she's doing too much good work not to be thinking about a political career. And if she wins, she'll be the first Black woman to ever be a governor of a United States a state in the United States. So, you know, Stacey Abrams, man, you know, we waited for you too. Wouldn't it be beautiful for Leticia and Stacey Abrams to be governor? You know, Leticia in New York, and then, of course, Stacey the South. That'd be dope. That'd be dope. Those are goals. See, those are things that excite me about politics. Not some of the fuckery that's happening right now in Philadelphia, right? Where the Johnny Doc trial, the first case, he's got 3 cases. This is the first case that just got wrapped up where we find out something about Miss Councilmember Helen Gim. Let's talk about that real quick. Leticia, I'm going to get back to you in a minute. Let me get on this Helen Gim situation. Because I was at first like, I want to say something. I do want to say something about this situation. So let's back this up. In 2015, she had got elected for the first time for city council at large. And she, you know, of course, part of the reason why she won, I always talk about this, is because Johnny Doc, who is the leader, the big labor boss of Local 98. Local 98 is for builders and trades, unions, and they are they're the biggest independent political contributor throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They are a big fucking deal. He's a big fucking deal. Currently, right now, he's got multiple charges around corruption, bribery, assaulting someone, threatening someone. These are multiple different cases he has charges. But this first trial is about him and also council member Bobby Heenan, who was in the Northeast. They're both right now on trial based by the feds are accusing them of having a quid pro quo situation where they was taking money and, you know, Johnny Doc was using money to pay through Bobby Heenan to make decisions that would benefit him and his union, politically. Yeah, basically, this is not a good look. These are some serious charges, some serious issues. He got another charge. He got another case coming up around the fact that they were saying that he was using Local 98 money for purposes that he shouldn't, including buying Taylor Swift tickets, toilet tissue, a bunch of hoagies, a bunch of dumb stuff. Then the next one is about whether or not he physically intimidated and harmed someone, the cousin of a rival, whomever, around some shit. Basically, this man is being accused of a lot of shit, and he could go to this and have some serious jail time, and including Bobby Heenan. So Bobby Heenan has 1 case. Doc has 3 cases. This just wrapped up the first case. Prosecutors rested their case this week. Now, here's how Helen Gim gets in the mix and some of these other things. Helen Gim was a surprise winner. A lot of people thought that Isaiah Thomas, who is now council member at large, who got elected in 2019, who is, doing an okay job at city council. People was really rooting for him because, it took him 3 times to run for city council to get the seat. But at the time, he was in his second run, and people thought he was close. Well, it didn't pan out that way. The Northeast came through and pushed Helen Gim to the top. And so that support from Bobby Heenan, that support from Local 98, got Helen Gim the competitive edge to win that seat by only a few number of votes. She did it. She won. Dun-dun-dun-dun, victory. So Helen Gim won. Shortly after her victory later that year, in 2015, Doc took out then Mayor-elect Kenny, because Kenny had just got elected in November, took them out to an Eagles game. It was Councilmember Kenyatta Johnson, who's currently indicted for quid pro quo dealings too with his wife, allegedly. that trial is scheduled for February 2022. So, y'all, it's a lot going on in Philadelphia politics, especially city council. But apparently on this trip, it was a person, a staffer for Council President Darrell Clarke, Mayor Kinney, or Mayor-elect Kinney, Helen Gim, and Kenyatta Johnson, and Bobby Heenan, of course. And then Doc, of course. So they were they were at the Eagles game that was paid for. Tickets, comp, everything. Helen had asked Bobby Heenan, like, when you get donations, gifts, anything like that, you're supposed to put it on a spreadsheet, a little form that's supposed to disclose this to council, to the city. You don't have to disclose any gifts or anything like that because they want to have ethics. You got to make sure that there's no bribery, no funny business. Anytime you get certain gifts, you have to report them, and it has to be public information. So let's be very clear. This has to be public information. So Gim had asked Bobby Heenan, like, yo, where do I report this? How do I report this? And Bobby was like, oh, child, you ain't gotta, I'm summarizing here just to be clear, but you get the drift. Basically, in a nutshell, to summarize this, he was like, look, you really don't have to do that. Like, the laborers don't really keep a log. They bought it. We good. It's good. Gim was like, okay, well, thinking about it. Well, let me go back and see. Now, this is a fact that she said she's going to go back and see on social media if she had posted herself at that trip or whatever. In other words, it was given the impression, this is my impression, that by her asking about, the tickets and about all of that, the photos and all that, that she was basically asking, if she put out evidence that would put her in a position where she would have to record. Well, none of the people recorded it. Kenny didn't report it on his form. Kenyatta didn't. Heenan clearly didn't. And she ended up not doing it. She didn't record it in the day. So, this came up during the trial. And people were like, what? Helen Gim did what? First of all, I'm not personally surprised because as you all been following the podcast, I've always talked about this weird relationship she has with, Local 98, with Doc and them. It's just, it's weird because as this strong progressive voice, she is still dealing with some of these old guard players. It's just weird, But here's the kicker. The kicker is that her communications director said that she felt uncomfortable about that conversation with Bobby Heenan, and she decided, 3 years later in 2018, to amend her activity sheet where she could show that she did get those tickets. 3 years later? 3 years later? Was that when you start hearing there was a probe? Is that when you start hearing that there was wiretappings? Like, what made you decide 3 years later, I need to go back and amend it? So, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer, they looked to see if there was such a change. There wasn't. So, somebody lying. And, look, all I got to say is, to be fair, it is a frivolous, minute detail in a larger scheme of everything, but it is a real character assessment. The act itself is like, tickets, whatever. I don't think it's the end of Helen Gim. I'm not going to act like it's the biggest scandal of all time, because clearly she's not the one on trial. But what I will say is that it is an interesting... If it appears that she needs to own the fact that she made poor decision making and just hold herself accountable to that. Period. Like, you need to, just say, look, I fucked up. That wasn't good judgment on my end. You need to own it. Like, all this, I feel uncomfortable. Oh, don't throw Bobby under the bus now because you've been holding it down for Bobby. When Bobby was majority leader, all that, you were supporting him, holding his seat in spite of his indictment, playing the whole innocent until proven guilty logic, which is fine, right? That's fair. But you was holding it down for him. Don't act like, so to me, it's weird because it's like, he was a bad influence the moment you got that seat. He was putting you in positions that could compromise your ethics and compromise, your situation. And you still was riding with him. Oh, but they hate me when I hold people accountable, though. They unfollow me. They hate me. That's cool. It is what it is. But I just want y'all to see the racial bias and how some of this plays out, though, right? Because basically, you had a bad friend in council. It appears that's not what a homie do. He been in city council for a little bit. He should have told you. He should have told you what it was, and you should know what it was. And to me, it's weird because when she literally said she was gonna go check social media to see if she posts anything, that just didn't sit well with me. So basically, what you're saying is that if there was no cameras, because she loved cameras, if there were no cameras present to document it, that means that you wasn't going to document it, even though technically and legally and according to the city, you're supposed to. Interesting. And we're not going to talk about Kenyatta not doing it because clearly Kenyatta's getting indicted for behavior that's not cool. And Kenny, I mean, you know how I feel about Kenny. So, the whole squad, okay, no pun intended, is a little janky. But you should have known better because you miss calling people out. You calling for people to resign. You throwing shots. You talking shit. You've done a lot, Helen. So I want to say I'm a little disappointed. I don't expect much out of politicians, but I'm very a little. I was like, wow, I didn't. I was a little surprised. I must say, I was a little taken aback by what I had saw during the trial. But we're gonna find out soon. Let's hope for a speedy trial, or let's hope that the jury really steps up and don't fall for the okie doke. I do think, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I do feel that there is some merit to these allegations around them. I just think that the prosecution really did paint a really clear picture, in my view, that this was not just a friend looking out for a friend. This wasn't just some, conversations. This was some real shit. I feel like there's a case to be made. It's just too much. So we're gonna see. Now, of course, Councilmember Bobby Heenan and Local 98 leader Johnny Doc have both denied the allegations. They both continue to say it's not true. Doc has told the press, he's like, look, there's nothing coming out of this. Zero, completely innocent. I mean, very confident, okay? Like he giving you the zero with his fingers, okay? Like, signaling. Like this man feels like he's going to get out of these charges, okay? Very confident. So we'll see if his confidence prevails in that case. But he got like 2 more after. So we going to see. I mean, if the man gets away, listen, he's a white man, so he might be able to get away with all of it, okay? So I'm not going to be too surprised, but it would be interesting because the implications, let's talk about the implications. The implications if he is found guilty, if he does do jail, if it gets real for him, that's going to impact a lot of money for a lot of people, right? We know that Josh Shapiro, who's the current AG in Pennsylvania, is going to run for Pennsylvania governor now because Governor Wolf is about to term out, named up. You got a lot of other people who are running or talking about running for different seats, and it's going to use, some of these people have been codependent upon Local 98 money across the board. I'm thinking about right now 1199C, which was under Chris Woods, which was for the healthcare workers union. And they gave a lot of money to people like Isaiah Thomas, who's currently city council member at large. And I'm just wondering, he just recently got fired, Chris Woods. He's no longer his position. They kind of pushed him out, the national group. And it was over, some stuff around them not paying national dues and whatnot. There was allegations of mismanagement of funds. It was a bunch of different clouds, but Chris Woods adamantly denies it. But at the end of the day, he's no longer in the post. So you're wondering to yourself, damn, okay, some of these major unions are like, union money ain't the money right now. It look like y'all gonna have to diversify your funds. I'm hoping that doesn't mean people become corporate shrills, because that's not a good look either. I just really don't want to see the big banks and them involve themselves in these races. But it's going to be interesting because it is not like people just got sent on money in Philadelphia either, unless you're a real estate developer, right? So it's a lot of ethical, social concerns, a lot of shit that's just making me, I don't know the word, itch. I'm just going through a lot right now. Try to figure this out. I'm just trying to figure this out emotionally. I'm not impacted by this, clearly. I'm not a politician, but I'm just thinking about a lot of black candidates who, for many years, some of this is going to impact them. We'll see. We'll see. So, Leticia James is running for New York governor. Andrew Cuomo is disgraced. Apparently, criminal charges, some stuff coming after him. Looked like his situation is getting a little serious. I mean, it was already serious, but it looked like he might, he could potentially face jail time, it seems. Still looking into that, but I'm just happy for Leticia. I think this is great news. It's, Andrew Cuomo getting out the way is going to pave a way for a woman. I think New York wants a woman governor. They need a woman governor, and I think they need a black woman. I think this is just fabulous. And she is so relevant right now. And I've been obsessed with her from the beginning of this podcast. You all know, I've been saying her name, and to see her advancing like this is just great news. So, loving it. All right. The kids are looking like they're all right. Okay. Pfizer is letting kids get vaccinated. Kids now can get vaccinated. The Pfizer vaccine has been approved by the FDA. Kids can now get vaccinated. If you 5 to 12, whatever, you could get vaxxed. My little brother, who's 11, he can now get vaxxed. So I'm really feeling good about that. I'm super excited about it. And, I'm super excited about all the progress happening. Dr. Ayla Stanford, is just killing it right now. I've been a big fan of her since day one. She's making some major moves. She now has a lovely, beautiful, the Dr. Ayla Stanford Center for Health Equity is now at 2001 W. Lehigh Avenue, 20th Street and Dr. Ayla Stanford Way. Like, this is wow. This is wow. Look how far she's come in the past year. Do you remember when, at the beginning of this podcast, in January and February, that there was arguments about her getting the money to be able to help continue these vaccination clinics? Now, here we are at the end of the year, around November now, and she has an entire, health and equity center. You know what I'm saying? That is powerful. That is inspirational. My heart is just soaring for her. She is on the front cover of Philadelphia Magazine, one of the few Black women in the magazine's history to grace the front cover solo. She's on Most Influential. We just put out the lineup, and I co-edited as editor at large. So I was a part of doing a lot of the write-ups of some of the people that got on that list. And she's at number 4. Kinney is at number 5. She's ahead of Mayor Jim Kinney. The number one person is the woman who helped create the vaccine. I believe the Pfizer one, because in Philadelphia through Penn Medicine, that was number 1. Number 2 is Brian Roberts, who's the CEO of Comcast. Number 3 is Dr. Haidt, who's the superintendent of the Philadelphia School District. Number 4 is Dr. Ayla Stanford. And number 5 is Mayor Jim Kinney. And there's 71 other people in the November issue that you can check out on newsstands today. And she's on the front cover, so you need to get it. It's a collector's item. She looks gorgeous. She looks stunning. And it's just an incredible cover. And I'm just so proud that I was the co-editor of that list this year. This is my second year doing it. And, celebrating the 1-year anniversary of being editor at large at Philadelphia Magazine, which is a role that I don't take for granted. First Black editor at large in the magazine's over 110-year history. So history is, history is a big deal. Making history in that kind of way. It's just, it just makes me feel this, like I said, this has been a really full circle moment this year, just where we started and where we are. I mean, this is random, but I'm a big CVS lover. Y'all know I love CVS. I got the email that said buy one, get one free on Lysol products. I don't think, I put this on Twitter, and I don't think some people got it, but I don't think people understand. Do y'all remember that it was around this time a year ago that people were fighting for Lysol? People was ordering Lysol on Amazon and waiting 3 weeks to get it. We're now at a point where CVS is going back to selling Lysol sprays and everything. And it's got so much of it that they're doing buy one, get one free, get one 50% off specials. That is, You know what I'm saying? That's just I don't know. My heart it's just I know there's still a pandemic going on. Clearly, people are still dying. But we got to get to a point, and I just hope that people are at least admiring the progress within the distress. That we can't just continue to be doomsayers about everything. We can't continue to just be negative Nancy's about everything. Like, I just am in a place that, perfection is, we should never be in a space that unless it's perfect, we're not happy. And that's just something that I've learned many, many years ago. That something doesn't perfection doesn't, in order for something to be fully achieved, perfection doesn't have to be the only answer. That while you're on that journey to a more perfect world, a more perfect union, whatever that means, we are in a space where we are acknowledging the improvements while continuing to work and strive to achieve better things. That's always been my life. When I look at where I was 2 years ago, I was happy 2 years ago. When I look at where I'm at now, I'm happy now. I have never been in a space where the milestones I've hit this year and I've hit at certain parts of my life, those were always in my mind, but I was never discontent when I didn't have those things. Because where I was at, I was looking at the things that I didn't have 2 years prior that I had then. And that is what really has kept me in this space of like always feeling self-fulfilled. Because if you expect life to continue, you want to live a long life, a long life that is going to be abundant. You got to be in a mindset that there is still more time to achieve those other things while you're achieving new things. And you have to just be happy about that. Like, I am just over the moon right now. There are so many things I can see and I want, but I'm also enjoying the things I'm achieving while I'm getting to those things. And there's always new things because new opportunities come. You should be in a mindset where there's no ultimate thing that sits you down. There's no ultimate thing that I want, like as a thing, that's like, oh, if I get the Nobel Peace Prize or the Pulitzer Prize, whatever, that's it. Life stops. No, then you become in a place where you're like, okay, I got to do more things. When I got on Forbes 30 under 30, like, that was something I always dreamed of, but I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to happen. I just did me, and it happened. It fell on my lap. It was like, yo, you out here killing it. Here you go. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then there was a moment where I was like, okay, well, that was cool. My life didn't stop at 28. I got to keep the fuck going. And there's new opportunities. And then I got a book deal. I always wanted to write a book. And I always used to say to all of my friends, and they will testify to this, I was like, I am not self-publishing, and I'm not judging people that self-publish. But I just said, if I'm going to write a book, I want to be in a space where an agency or group or whatever believes in it, funds it, because I don't have the time and the capacity to do all that and do all that. I want to be in a space where I want to have a book deal. And I got a 6-figure book deal. And that was a dream. That was a dream. And now I'm working towards it, like seeing it into fruition. Like, it's going to hit me when the book is in my hand. And I have it in my fucking hands. And my name is on that cover. And I can feel the pages. I'm super excited to have that moment. I'm seeing it. I'm manifesting it. I mean, it's coming. But it's just that emotional feeling of like touching it. And it has your name on it. Like, other people are going to be able to, it's going to be, at airports. It's going to be at the Penn bookstore. Like, there's one random fantasy, a dream I have. And this is something that I haven't ever said to so many people, but I'll say it here. One of the things I have had the biggest dreams about with this book is that when, I live in Philly, and, Penn bookstore. And Penn Bookstore has like their outdoor covers of books written by alumni. And every month or so, I will walk past and I will see books that's written by Penn alum. And I always used to say when I was younger, I said, one day I'm going to have a book from me as an alum that's going to be out there on the window where people walk by, they can see my book there. That reality of knowing that is a reality that's going to happen, like to be able to see that, that's gonna take me out, y'all. That's gonna be my moment. And there might be other moments, but that's gonna take me out when that happens. That is something that when I first came to Philadelphia, I was 18, I was like, oh, that would be dope. And I remember many walks with many men that I dated. And I used to tell them this. So some of my exes from the past are going to be like, yeah, I remember that time we was out there and, we was getting pizza at Cozy. Because Cozy used to be on the corner. I think it's still there. And we used to walk past and he used to talk about that little book he going to have in the window. Yeah. I really had that. I really had that dream. So we'll see. We'll see. But I say all to say that progress has happened, and I'm excited about it. And I think that just seeing, Dr. Ayla Stanford continue to manifest and do her thing and see her dreams, it inspires me, inspires the city of Philadelphia. And this woman, if she wants to be the health commissioner of Philadelphia, because see, I think of Fat Joe, the rapper, when he said, the price done went up. Listen, I am in a place where, listen, if that's what she wants, but you know what? She could be anything she wants at this point. I mean, are we lowering our standards by putting her in this little Philadelphia health commissioner position? No shade. If that's what she wants, she can get it. But I'm like, what about state? What about state commission? What about surgeon general in the future? Like, I mean, whatever she wants, the sky's the limit. And if she wants to be the health commissioner of Philadelphia, y'all know I'm going to campaign for it. I'll do whatever. I'll listen. We here for it. And Dr. Ayla, we trust and we stand. But as far as, whatever she wants, if that's what she wants to do, I get annoyed sometimes, especially when I see like, there's this thing that white people like to do to black folks is they like to tell us what we gonna be for them. And I think, even though I know you're enthusiastic, I always preface a disclaimer of saying whatever she wants to do, that's what I'm going to support. I'm not telling her to be the health commissioner of Philadelphia, because if that's not what she wants to do, if she doesn't want to clean up some white man's mess, Dr. Farley, who had it before her, all the mess in that art, if she don't want to come up in there and clean up that mess, she don't have to. It's too often that we let a lot of privileged white men in positions of power fuck up entire institutions in places, and then the rest of us have to go in and have to clean it up after them. Tumar Alexander, the managing director, who had the job before him? Think about it. When did he get that position? It took tear gassing and bullshit to happen before Tumar got that position. He had been in City Hall for years, under 3 different administrations, multiple administrations. This man, I mean, I'm just saying, Brian Abernathy left, he resigned, good for him. But a lot of these people fuck up these jobs. Health commissioner fucked up the job. So now we all want Dr. Ayla Stanford because she's going to come and have to save the day. I'm just tired of black people having to be superheroes after the mediocrity and the complete and utter incompetence of other white men. I'm just tired of that. Like, we always are in those positions and roles. A diversity inclusion job, a job where, some white editor did something racist, and then we got to fill in the gap for them. I've been through it all. I'm just saying that we're in a place where whatever she wants, she deserves. And we should support whatever she wants. So if she wants health commissioner, which I know that she's been, I don't want to say toying around, but she has been, entertaining the conversation, then by golly, let's give it to her. But if she changes her mind, it's whatever she wants. That's all I'm saying on that. So, Ice Cube just lost $9 million. Ice Cube, yes, Ice Cube of NWA. Ice Cube of Friday. Craig and Friday. Ice Cube, who was one of the best rappers, who had music that fueled the very strong fuck the police mentality that we now have now. He's a hip hop legend, an icon. I grew up knowing who Ice Cube was through his music and movies. Friday was like the first rated R movie I saw, and I remember it like line for line. I mean, it's an iconic cult classic. If you don't know Friday, if you've never seen Friday, what planet are you on? It's iconic. He's Ice Cube he looks good. He's maintained himself. His son is a great actor now. His son looks just like him, Shay Jackson. But anywho, it's sad. It's sad. He's been interesting over the past couple of years, just in general. A lot of, he had a moment with anti-Semitism, but then he addressed it. but now he's anti-vax, y'all. The studio had a major $9 million payday for him to do a new film, but they regulated that he needed to get vaccinated in order to fulfill the contract to do what he needs to do. He turned it down. He won't get vaccinated. What the fuck? $9 million. It's just it's the drop in the bag for me. I mean, let's be clear. This man is a super multimillionaire. He anytime you can say I ain't taking $9 million because I don't want to get vaxxed, that's a privilege. It's so privileged, and it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. So hearing that really, really, yeah, that was sad to hear. So. Melting ice cubes, man. Melting ice cubes. Ice Cube, not you too. I feel like all of the hip hop legends, a lot of these guys, these cats are just disappointing me. Busta Rhymes a couple of months ago being anti-mask and talking about masks and shit. I mean, these people are just give the rappers, just give the Republicans your stuff. I'm not even going to talk about some of the Democrats. I mean, listen, I vote often Democrat because unfortunately that's just how this two-party system works. But I'm more of a very critical, I'm a black man. So I ask me, are you a Democrat or Republican? I'm a black man, which means that I don't give a fuck about both of these parties. I'm just voting for whatever is going to serve the interests of my community to the best of my ability. So I'm going to be checking off black man as voter. I'm a black man. That's just my voter. That's my checkoff box. I can't affiliate with either party. When I vote, I think of issues that impact black people, people that are LGBTQI community. I'm thinking, I don't know what that party's called. I'm just a black man when I go to the voting booth. I can't be like, I'm a Democrat at the voting booth. I can't rock with the Democrats right now. They're giving this motherfucker, first of all, both of them, Sima, whatever, and the other, Joe Manson. Like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? We're taking away things that are fundamental democratic policies. Like, we're not providing resources for childcare. What the fuck? These are fundamental principles on this bill because he's got to have his little way. So who's really running? Which Joe is running right now, Congress? Is it Joe Biden or is it Joe Manchin? And where in the fuck is Kamala Harris? Where is Kamala? I not that I'm crazy about Kamala, but I'm just like, where is Kamala? Because Joe Biden, when he was vice president, was definitely more visible than Kamala is. They just said, look, Kamala, you was here to make history, get the votes. We're gonna throw you in the back. I mean, I know her immigration stuff was not good, but give her something that is in her wheelhouse because Kamala it's not looking good for Miss Harris. First Vice President Harris. It's not looking good for Vice President Harris right now. And I don't think that's her fault. I think I don't know what Joe's doing. Joe's taking L's. I don't know what is going on with the Biden administration, but the shit is just looking all over the place. And, all I'm saying is that the rhetoric, it's just too much going on. It's just, politics is just weird. We're starting to just find out that a lot of the people we like, we're starting to see how Trump won, basically, in 2016. I feel like I'm starting to see now how Trump won even more. Not this narrative of middle America bullshit, but the fact that across the way, there's a lot of dumb people amongst us in all states, in all cities, in our own communities. There are a lot of dumbass people amongst us. And we sometimes try to make this shit a red state, blue state shit. Fuck that. No, this is just dumbass people. I'm gonna, I really, I want to respect the flow of my show, but I could really digress into some stuff. But all I gotta say is black men, black people, barbershops will tell you everything you know about the state of America. That's all I want to say. Go to a black barbershop and you will know why things happen the way they've been happening. I'm just going to put it on the table and leave it on that note. We might come back to it next week. I just want to put a pin on it for now because it's just a lot of this stuff is going on and I'm starting to see connections and dots that I didn't realize many years ago. Because it's been 5 years, y'all. It's been 5 years since this country elected Donald Trump. We're about to have election day again in November. This is a very non-inspiring year. I know it's not a midterm year. I know it's not a presidential year, but it just seemed like, there's a lot of judicial races that are important, But it just seems like no one is caring about the general right now. I don't know. It's just weird. The DA's race was exciting, y'all, right? But the general just seems to be like whatever. But there are some important races still on the table. I've already voted. I always vote. I don't skip an election. Even if I'm not inspired, I'm going to still go to the polls and vote. That's just my personal preference. But you know, I just think about all the rhetoric. One thing I'll say about Ice Cube real quick is I think it'll be interesting because I see a lot of Republicans really trying to like gas up Ice Cube. But I think the Ice Cube as an artist is an intersection of last year of the pandemic and the racial uprisings. His music for the NWA was the pre soundtrack to Black Lives Matter to its extent, like the criticism of the police state, racial injustice in the system. I mean, they weren't perfect. They weren't perfect. These rappers, but the narrative is it was a countercultural movement, right? And it's interesting because okay, in one sense, Ice Cube understands that, but then he doesn't understand the racial disparities of vaccinations and all of that, and so it's this weird like thing going on right now with it. And I think it hits at the intersection of the pandemic. But also, I think it reveals privilege and class and wealth, right? Like if Ice Cube was not this multimillionaire who could literally be in his mansion and order out and things, he would have probably a different perspective about it. I mean, to a certain extent. It's just weird. And I think what's going to be even funnier is these ultra conservatives that's going to be praised Ice Cube for being anti-vax, but going to forget that this is the man who gave y'all the hit song "Fuck the Police." So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of dance with him because they've been doing it on Twitter a little bit, but I'm going to see who's gonna bite the bullet and who's going to remind them of Ice Cube's past that he still embraces. So thoughts on that? Woo! I'm about to get into a very, very serious matter. So the AKAs. Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. They are a Divine Nine. Okay, they're a Black Greek letter organization that was founded in 1908. Their colors are pink and green and pearls. And one of the founders, who is named after my beloved grandmother, Ethel, inspired these women to be the best. And there are many of them who are. Dr. Ayla Stanford is an AKA. She's incredible. I know a lot. And then you have VP Kamala Harris, who's an AKA. So you have the range from great to worst here. But some of them, because we have to use the word some, because people don't understand how to, anyway. There has been some uproar, as you all know, around the show Insecure. Now, you all know last week I told you I wasn't crazy about Insecure as a show, just in general. But there's a situation. A character played by Amanda Seales, who I cannot stand. She's so annoying. But in this situation, her character is an AKA. The character she's playing is AKA. Amanda Seales is not an AKA, which I don't even think matters. But she plays a character who wears pink and green in the on the show, the premiere. Now, this premiere is the final season premiere episode, because this is their final season, Insecure. And everyone was like really excited about the show itself, but so much of the first show was dominated by a lot of AKAs in this Black sorority that were upset that this woman was wearing AKA paraphernalia or colors or whatnot. And there was someone who went as far to say, "How dare she wear my shield?" And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Get over yourselves. Like, I have to say this because it's just, I've seen a lot of stupid Facebook debates with a lot of 40-somethings, and because there's a lot of the older group, a couple of young girls, but I don't think a lot of young AKAs are the ones really complaining. A couple of them that don't have anything going on in their lives but their sorority might be, but I'm seeing this with a lot of that mid-range group. And I don't know, these fucking Gen Xers, y'all are the worst. I used to think boomers were the worst. Boomers are just naggy. Gen Zers, they got to figure out their identities and figure out how they want to navigate their generational buzz. They're still on there. Millennials, I think we know who we are and what we are, for better or for worse. But them Gen Xers, y'all are like literally the worst. they call y'all the forgotten generation or the new forgotten generation. And y'all are just worse because y'all got exposure to a lot of major moments in history, but you never dared to imagine pushing the envelope. Like millennials, that's what we did, right? We was in a cultural transition in our lives and we kicked the ball forward. Gen Xers, there's a couple of good Gen Xers, but a lot of them did not take it there. They were very safeguarded. And I don't know if it's because of the historical times in which they came to the world, but they played it safe, but at the same time want to remind you that they can get nasty. Y'all are closet freaks. Y'all not like freaks. Like y'all closet freaks. Y'all freaks in the closet, but y'all not like about that smoke. Like they're so guarded. I can't tell you how many Gen Xers I deal with that are always gonna tell me all this shit, but it's always off the record. They're gonna always tell me what they could do, but they're always safe. You guys want to protect your little home, your little job. You're still trying to maintain the Joneses, keep up with the Joneses, and you want to think that you got a little bit of flavor because like the boomers just they're the ones that started it all, right? Big old dinosaurs. But like when you're thinking about Gen X's though, they are just the group that like they just won't let go of tradition, even though they swear up and down that they gave us things that were unconventional. You kind of did, but then you just still retreated back to your same stuff. You guys are like, if there was a Peloton bike that's Peloton Plus, y'all are like Boomers Plus, trying to act like y'all pre-millennials, but y'all really Boomer Plus. And moments like this shows me this, right? Because y'all are so for capitalism. Y'all love cops. Oh my God, you love cops. But you all also participated in protests and talked about anti-apartheid and movement stuff. But those are like relics to you all. And the fact that you all knew all this, but then when it was time to actually like continue that life, you didn't. But then a lot of y'all also went to jail because of mass incarceration. I am going through it right now. Gen Xers are so complicated and so annoying. Oh, y'all get on my nerves. Oh, y'all get on my nerves. Y'all are so insecure. Y'all are so not aware of what you want to do. Your fucking midlife crisis make us millennials sick. You won't move off the pot to go piss. Like you're taking up job positions that you should have advanced to because you boomers fucking wag the finger at you all for 5,000 years. Like millennials are pushing the fuck through and Gen Zers are just don't even know where to push. They don't even see a wall. They just go right in. But we just like, what are y'all doing? And then there's this weird inferiority complex with us because they see us as being, y'all see us millennials and Gen Zers as being more sexually free. Now, I will say millennials, we kind of, we tiptoed on it, but we pushed the door open fully though. We did the coming out parties when that was a thing, right? We pushed through in ways that previous generations were still treating as taboo. Like y'all still think cursing in public is taboo, Gen Xers. Like y'all are like, oh, you cursed? You said a curse word on Facebook. That is wild. Like I say fuck, shit. I say everything on Facebook. You guys are scared. You guys are still going for a gold star. And you are our parents. So I gotta say this, like you are our parents and you all raised us to kind of be like y'all. But when we got 18 and saw the world, we realized, yeah, this is the part where we're gonna kind of like get off of that hunch. And we fought back, rebellious. And y'all call us entitled, but we're only entitled because you all tell us we're the best things in the world. Because a lot of the things you couldn't do, you try to put in us. And then you're mad at us for being everything that you told us we were gonna be when we were little. Was that all a lie? You told us we were the best and we thought we were the best. And we were probably a little underexperienced when we went to certain spaces. But listen, our confidence was on a motherfucking beam. And there you have it. So, back to Insecure. This group, I think, of a lot of Gen Xer AKAs, they are not here for this. They have been criticizing it. It's been an uproar amongst the Black Greek culture about people wearing their symbols and things. And now the national, office, the headquarters is looking into this. And there might be lawsuits and there might be something coming after creator Issa Rae. And I'm just sitting here like, there's several things about this entire situation. Let's start with just the situation itself before we get to larger implications. Let's start with the fact that, first of all, it's a character. Amanda Seales was playing a character. As insufferable as she is as a person, she was a character. Like, leave her the fuck alone. Third of all, this is a black woman who created a black show that is supposed to be a cultural moment. So the fact that Issa Rae has a character as AKA is actually a sign of the times because of the fact that Kamala Harris is AKA, the fact that there is this conversation around Black Week organizations. And so Issa Rae is a tastemaker. She is a cultural, figure, right? She's making a show that is celebrating Black culture. You can't do a show about Black culture and not acknowledge HBCUs or Black Week led organization. It's a part of a cultural conversation. It reminds me of a different world. It reminds me of there's just elements that you can't do a Black show and not have that element, right? I just feel like Issa is trying to maintain accuracy. She's paying homage. It's a gesture. I felt like in my mind, you look at something like that and you go, wow, okay, Issa, look at you, because she could have picked any other sorority, but she picked AKA. And she could, that's a gesture. She's in the community, y'all. We Black. What are we doing here, right? She's paying homage. She's keeping the conversation going. There's a lot of little Black girls who's probably watching Insecure and are looking at Amanda Seales' character being like, oh, she's an AKA. That might make me think about it one day. It's keeping a legacy going, especially at a time where people do question, are HBCUs relevant? Are Black Week-led organizations necessary? Those conversations are still happening, and what Issa is doing is continuing to keep it within. So for you all to react the way that you're reacting is just kind of like, okay, so are y'all just what? So the narrative I heard was that it's because she didn't get a copyright. She didn't ask for them because we got to protect the brand. I'm sorry, but Issa's not trying to sell anything. She didn't use the character to sell something. I mean, what is this? Oh, we got to protect the brand. Let's talk about protect the brand in just a minute. So the logic is that because she's a Black creator mentioning this, she had to go through copyright. She had to do that with, even though it's creative expression. I mean, she's not selling something. She wasn't disrespecting the organization. Really? We're making people have to, you're going to put a Black woman who's creating a show that is reflective of Black culture. You're going to really try to be that arbitrary? Is that serious to you all? That, oh, she has to talk to trademark because we got to protect the brand. So let's talk about protecting the brand. You all saw my post on Instagram about brands and protection. I'm not going to, bullshit here. There has been a history in Black Greek organizations and other fraternities for that matter, but let's talk about our Black groups because we want to keep this conversation Black. That there's been a history of hazing, but they don't call it hazing, right? They call it the process. They call it initiation. But there has been a long-standing history of abusive hazing that happens in Black Greek-led organizations. Google will show you that. There's several cases where people have died during what was an initiation, quote-unquote, process. I know people have told me, do you know what the difference is between a Kappa and a Noop? I'm just telling you what I see. I had roommates in college that went through the process, okay? Coming home with ACLs torn, asses demolished. I've seen it. You can't unsee it from me. You're not going to do that. Oh, that's what people, fuck out of here. Okay? I had roommates, next door neighbors in my college house. Okay? I saw that shit with my own eyes. The abuse. And they swore to me, don't report it. Don't say anything. They really wanted these letters. And I think it's abuse. And I think it's abuse. And I think it's fucked up because even people I know who have joined the organization through application and through the paper, they say, oh, those are not real AKAs. Those are not real alphas. They're paper. They didn't go through the process. They didn't get, bred in. All that other shit that y'all say. I'm not going to sit up here and be quiet about it because I seen it. You can't unsee the shit for me. I know what the fuck y'all doing. Everybody knows. It's like the most unkept secret. How am I supposed to believe that an organization or groups within that organization don't haze or anything, but then you see people walk around with brand marks? If an institution is having people get branded, then how am I supposed to believe that there's not no other stuff going on when we see countless cases of people getting, killed? I remember, during my time in college, there was a young man named Brandon Stewart, black gay man who is probably in DC, went to Morgan State. And there was this big controversy because he, wanted to be a Kappa. And I think wanting to be a Kappa made the difference for him in the sense that he felt like this was an opportunity for him to explore, all of the privileges that come from being this well-rounded man, right? He was black, he was gay, he was a student leader, he was a student government, and he was very much someone that was passionate about, being that overachiever, being that person that I feel like a lot of times black gay men don't often feel like they can be. Like, I know some black gay men are in Black Greek letter organizations. Some of them, get in when they're out. Some of them come out the closet after they get their letters, quote unquote. But Brian Stewart's situation, that was a moment because, a lot of people knew about him. He was very popular. He was a student government. I think he's doing well now, but I remember hearing that story and, basically what happened was they didn't accept him on the basis of sexual orientation. He had the GPA, had everything. And it was a whole situation that later led to that chapter of Kappas at Morgan State being suspended during that time because he, got a lawyer. He, basically made the case that he was being discriminated against. And a lot of people, some people didn't like him for that, right? But he was brave and he spoke up and spoke out about that. And it was so messed up. It was just such a messed up situation. But, people want to protect their brands. There was a situation with a girl whose parent basically claimed that her involvement with AKA was the reason why she died or whatever. There was an incident with a woman who was a part of the Deltas that was involved in what they said a hazing incident that led to her death. There's been stories about the Qs where there's been ongoing allegations of rape and sexual abuse. There was a hashtag that came out during the Me Too movement about, the culture of Qs. And I remember going to some parties when I was at Penn where some of those guys were pretty nasty and was, biting girls and grabbing girls and, stuff like that. And this was a culture. I remember, there were flyers that were very super hypersexual. And I remember criticizing, and there's a whole op-ed I wrote at the Daily Pennsylvanian when I was a sophomore. That piece is probably 9 to 10 years old. And they hated me for calling them out on their flyers that they would have for parties because of just how much they look like club party. They would have girls that would be half naked on the flyers, and there'll be these weird catchy sayings and the stuff that would happen at the door parties where it was ratios and, it was just a lot of stuff that was happening that perpetuated rape culture, perpetuated, issues. And I can say this now because I know it's so. A girl that I was really good friends with in college was raped by a Kappa. And the boy got away with it. And I had to cut off a bunch of people that I thought were my friends because they basically protected him. And it was just messy. It was very messy. And, I was one of those people who stood up and was like, no, I believe her. I know it's true. And I was on campus holding up signs and, I took some blows because I called them out, and I called out the fact that others in my circle at that time thought it was okay to silence her. So we want to talk about protecting brands. There's a lot of issues in Black Greek letter organizations, like other fraternities, right? But I'm talking specific to ours that warrants more conversation, discussion, debate, or actual institutional change than coming after Issa Rae for actually keeping you all in the cultural conversation beyond Kamala Harris and beyond a lot of the dignified folk. But I will say this much for what I do know is that I think the reason why people say, oh, what is this anti-Greek stuff? They must be jealous they don't have letters. Let me tell you something. Google me and understand I don't need your letters. I don't need to be a Kappa, an Alpha, a Q, whatever. I ain't jealous. Trust me, I have too many fucking achievements, real achievements in my opinion. But I don't need to get paddled, even though I've been paddled with a paddle before. there was, back in the day, there was Kappas who was using paddles to paddle folks that weren't necessarily members of the organization. I'm just saying. I don't need any of these accolades. I don't need any of that type of attire. I don't. And I think there's always this nature that anyone who's critical or introspective about Black Greek life that's Black is like, oh, a hater. They look at them. They don't have letters. Blah, blah, blah. Please, please. And I think that is what annoys like the rest of the Black community, is that there is like these societies, right? These snobbish ass societies. And I'm not saying that everybody, I hate I have to do this because they get in their feelings. But listen, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. If it does not apply, let it fucking fly. Because that's what I think gets missing in these conversations, is that a hit dog will holler. So if you're offended by this, you're the hit dog that hollered, and you clearly applied it. So now you can't let it fly. So then therefore you need to take in whatever you're receiving. And maybe this is about you. Maybe it isn't. Maybe you're having a guilty conscience about the whole fucking situation. But what I will say is that this is a conversation in the Black community that doesn't oftentimes get fully fleshed out, because either people dismiss it as hate, people shut it down with overwhelming, anecdotal examples, guilt trips, all kind of shit, right? And what we don't say is that it's hard in a country like America, right? And across the world, but in America, that we see so much poverty, racial inequity, and all of these things. And yet within our community, we have a subset of Black people that want to recreate, aristocratic culture. They want to create hierarchies. They want to create these elite power structures that mimics the very anti-Blackness that perpetuates in the larger white dominated socioeconomic fuckery. Like, they want to mimic white people. They want to create and rebrand these systems. They want to, create that. They want to be new masters that took the whip that was left off the plantation by the white owner and an overseer. They want to perpetuate those politics. And it's like, let me be very clear, because I think people don't understand this enough. Liking nice things, enjoying luxury does not make you elite. It just means you're a person that have taste in your own way. You like certain things. That's fine. All right. Get you a fucking Rolex watch if you fucking want a Rolex watch. Get you a Gucci purse if that's what you like. Get you a Versace robe if that's what you like. That's not this. And that's the issue too, because people actually don't understand the difference between wealth and rich and money. And there's so much class ignorance that it just baffles me. And as somebody who has grown up middle class, has, had a working class upbringing, has grown up in various socioeconomic differences, but then going to an Ivy League school through scholarship and financial aid, and seeing how the really wealthy rich, the 1%, lives. I'm trying to tell y'all something here. It's not like people are cosplay in wealth. Like, people are thinking, oh, I'm gonna wear this Ralph Lauren blazer and these red bottoms, and that's gonna be a sign of my intellectual value, power, and it does not matter. People have mastered dressing rich or dressing like there's something more powerful. That's not what this is about. I'm not talking about that, right? There's a lot of people that think they're richer than what they really are. There's a lot of people that in their head think that they're more powerful and prominent than what they really fucking are. This is different. This is a different scope. I'm not even talking about people that go to Martha's Vineyard every little summer. I mean, there's a couple people that are there that are elite. But a lot of these people are just not the conversation. Like, I just don't see, like, you have to work. It's not the same. And there's people, what's sad about Philadelphia, I will say, is that there's a lot of Black people in Philadelphia, Atlanta, other places that really want people to believe that they're more elite and all of these things than they really are. And the people that are, and the people that aren't. As somebody who went to school with kids of billionaires, I am here to tell you all that 99% of you all are not that. You're not. You might know somebody, you might be in a room, but you're not that person. And you will try to fake it and pretend, but you're not that person, boo-boo. It's okay. I'm not that person. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I know you want people to think you're there, but it's okay because this city is too fucking poor for y'all to be acting like a bunch of y'all are. It's not that many of you, honey boo boo. I promise you. And the ones that are, honey, they wouldn't touch you with a 12-foot pole. It's just not. It's just not what it is. I'm being real. But we live in a society where poverty is treated as a weakness. Poverty is treated as, we victim blame people that deal with poverty or deal with not being rich, right? It's almost like a judgment because of capitalism, right? It makes people feel like they have to put on. That keep up with the Joneses is why a lot of people are fucking broke now, right? It's a lie. It's a myth. And it's so funny because when I'm in certain spaces, I see people pretending and putting on this aura of that. And I'm just like, you're so not that. It's okay. The large name dropper, the person that tells you who they was in proximity to as if that's a sign of value, and we don't even know what the fuck they do. It's a very interesting paradox. And so what I'm getting at is that in America, there are some very elite societies of Black people that are really like holding on to real wealth and money and want to create a new aristocratic society where they believe that they are a different type of Black. Like, they don't think of themselves as the Black people that are, working, paying debts off. They don't see themselves as that. They put themselves in this society, in this mindset that they were special. And it's not even just talented 10th special, but that they were the chosen ones that have some real obligation to society, and they want to keep this power within, because from there to which their success continues to overflow. Some of them may, be heirs to fortunes that come from slaves. Some of them might have been, new money is subjective, but a lot of these people are invested in keeping this hierarchical structure. And they've used Ivy League institutions, HBCUs to a certain extent, and Black Greek-led organizations, and Jack and Jill, and Brule, and all this stuff to keep this cycle. Not too many people are in that. I'm telling you that right now. They may have been at a debutante ball. Some of them might have made it through Jack and Jill, but this is a different type of society. And I have seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen some of it. I've tasted some of it. I know folks who's really in it. And I'm telling y'all, Philadelphia, a lot of folks in Philadelphia, they not that. This is not, they're not that. They're not that. And people that listen to this podcast, you might know what I'm talking about, but it's not this. And I say all that to say that people who are in Divine Nine organizations, people who are part of these like elite associations, they really are trying to run away from acknowledging any background or experience that mimics or appears to be oppression. They are obsessed with image. They're obsessed with trying to be bigger than what they are when it comes to, class, when it comes to all of these things. And they will keep a lie going as long as they can about who they are, what they're supposed to be. That's a different conversation for a different day. I just wanted to put that on the table. I wanted to let that sit and marinate because that's deep. And I can't even begin to tell you some of the things oh goodness. That's why I love this podcast, because it continues, and more of this will be explored down the road. But all I gotta say, long story short, it ain't that big of a deal, y'all. I mean, there's a pandemic still going on. There's racial uprisings. There's other issues going on in the Black community. I mean, voting rights are being, taken away from us, slipping through our fingertips. Poverty is still over the roof. Gun violence is happening. Where the fuck are y'all on that? Focus on that. Make headlines for that. Leave Issa alone. Okay, next. So, I just got to talk about Will and Jada real quick. I read the story. Let me be clear. I know that what Jada said on Red Table Talk was not as salacious as what the headlines ran on Entertainment Weekly or whatever the other blogs, Internews, that basically her conversation with Gwyneth Paltrow on Red Table Talk about her sex life with Will was probably like mild to medium. It wasn't that hot, right? That I know. Okay, so I'm not having this conversation saying, oh my God, all those headlines. First of all, y'all should be reading articles, reading the actual articles. Stop reading headlines, read articles. That's just what we need to start doing in 2021 and beyond. Keep reading the stories. Read the damn story. Don't judge something just based off the headline alone. Unless it's written by me, because my headlines be like directly where it's at. But read the stories, y'all. Click the links, read it. Okay? Here's my thing with Will and Jada. I think that the fact that people were quick to believe that speaks to how much Jada has been actually and factually just doing the most when it comes to oversharing about her marriage with Will Smith. And Will has too. They both have. They're annoying. I feel like every month they do a ping pong with each other on who's going to sensationalize the other when it comes to discussing details of their marriage. They've been together for over 20 years, and I'm just so over the fact that this continues to happen. Like, my heart is just, I'm just over it. And I really like them. I really like them. And I just hate the fact that every time I turn around, they're doing this. I think ever since the August Alsina entanglement situation has happened, it's been a wow. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a situation where I've been like, that was it for me. Like, I remember entanglements. Like, I remember talking about it on one of my friends' podcasts. I was on For Color Boys with Antoine Abdul, Ali Muhammad. They both were all on there. We talked about entanglements when I was on their show as a co-host. And at that time, it felt like a big fucking deal. It was, because it was like a moment where we realized, oh shit, so some of this swinger stuff, some of this operation stuff, there's some truth there. And I mean, officially, Will Smith kind of made it clear to everybody in the GQ interview he recently did. That's cool, that's fine, yada, yada, yada. But at this point, I don't care. Like, when I tell you that I really don't care about their relationship, they're like, well, then why are you talking about it? I think what I'm trying to say here is, I just feel like there was a time in society where we did care a lot about celebrities' relationships and situations, but I don't know because of so much social media exposure and the fact that we see, I think it's Instagram, and I think social media has made gossip blogs and tabloids less fun because we see celebrities more and they are so pressed on letting us see everything. Now we've become immune to the fuck shit. I mean, there's still shockers, but we've become so immune to it. Like, there was a time where I remember I was still old enough or young enough or alive enough to remember a time where the only way we could get celebrity gossip and news, there was a couple of blog sites, Perez Hilton, yes, but it was still a thing to go to the grocery store and see these crazy headlines that said stuff about the people, right? And that was juicy. And I remember having to, go to the store, and I would pick them up, and my mom would grocery shop and stuff, and I would just be, in my magazine aisle, just reading through the magazines like Wendy Williams. I wasn't eating crackers in the grocery store, but I was sitting there just going through the magazines and knowing so much. And I would go to school and say, yeah, I read this, because I would just be a magazine worm. I love going to the grocery store. I didn't know what the hell my mother was getting in the store, but I would just go to the magazine section. I would go through the CD section, the movie section. Remember that was a thing? Like, no one does movies anymore. Like, we don't get movies in the store. I remember I would go through every movie that would come out and just read the back. Remember that? Reading the back of VHSs and DVDs. Remember that was a thing? And I would just look and say, oh, that movie sounds interesting. And that's a dying experience. I'm so sad that my little brother doesn't have that experience. I mean, he could go to the store and see magazines and stuff, but the way that magazines are placed in stores, I digress. Now I'm sounding like such a wonk. But I'm saying this to say that there was a time where we used to feel a lot more exclusive. Now I just feel like it's overexposure. I don't care. I just don't. And I'm just and I think the reason why I'm so annoyed with it is because they actually are talented. Like, Will Smith is talented. Jada Pinkett Smith is talented. I would rather hear more about their own personal projects rather than them consistently oversharing. And also, what the fuck with all these celebrities trying to be meta? They're so wrong that it's like totally nauseating. Like they're all becoming like Will Smith reads The Alchemist and he thinks he's not a philosopher now. Jada just gives out all of these random ass life advice tips, and none of this shit makes sense sometimes. I'm just like, what the fuck? And none of these people are certified therapists. They just go off of feelings and, itches, and they think they're really dropping truth bombs, and they're really not. It's not that deep. I don't know. People just think having a red table or having some desk can make them feel like they're a judge. Womp, womp, womp. Court TV where they have quote unquote judges. Like they're going to have a Judge Steve Harvey. I mean, this is what I'm saying. People are cosplaying actual experts. Everybody say college degrees don't matter, education don't matter, yada, yada, yada. But then at the end of the day, everybody wants to pretend to be people with degrees. Just saying, like we still have doctors, people. We still have real doctors. We still have real people that do this type of clinical work. Like, let's respect them. Let's respect them. I just think that they're just getting on my nerves. Like, I just don't care anymore. And I'm just annoyed with it. And I think this situation with Jada proves to me, it's not that people are making Jada. I've read something about, why do we want to insist on making Jada Pinkett Smith the villain? It's not that people are trying to make Jada Pinkett Smith the villain. Jada Pinkett Smith is the villain. It's like, my thing is that as someone who is married, I can now say this. You do not throw your partner under the fucking bus for capital and publicity. They have been in this industry for years. They know what they're doing. You don't do that to someone you love. If y'all have issues, those are your issues. Y'all fucking figure it out. This is not an inspiration to people as much as you think it is. It's actually, you are looking for a way to capitalize off of it. Like, they are capitalists, gross capitalists. Will Smith losing weight was a way for him to turn it into some Netflix documentary or some YouTube show. Like, this is what they do. Like, they always are going to find little things to turn into money. It's disgusting. Like, exploiting their divorces, exploiting their actual trauma for profit, and then trying to frame it like we're trying to inspire people. I mean, at some point, it's like, Jada, do you not want to act anymore? It's okay. But this right here is like, come on. I don't know. I'm not impressed. Don't like it. Several thumbs down. Don't highly recommend. Not here for it. This is just not cool. So, bye, Will and Jada. All right. So, we're getting close. Okay? Things are getting real. Things are getting real. There has, this SEPTA situation has been buzzing for a minute. Everybody's talking about the SEPTA situation. The piece I wrote has went viral. It was the most read piece on Philly Mag for the month of October. The most read, like out of everything that happened, most influential, people getting alligators. It was the most read story. The most liked post on Instagram for the month of October. Over 7,000 of you all, liked it on Facebook. Thousands upon thousands of y'all, really showed up and showed out for it. So thank you for that. So I'm grateful for so many people that really showed up and showed out to make that story be possible, because I did like the fact that basically people were lying on the city. That police were lying on the city. And in my last episode, I talked a lot in depth about what happened, which pretty much involved earlier in October, an incident where a woman was raped on the SEPTA train. And the police said that people were just standing around videotaping this en masse and not doing anything. And the way that it took off in international news around the world, I mean, everyone was talking about. The New York Times even wrote about it. I mean, this was a big thing. And there was just a lot of, just racialized stereotypes about Black and brown communities, because we know that working class people oftentimes write the SEPTA late at night. I mean, we know the demographic. We know what kind of stereotypes people have about urban living. And police perpetuate that. Police lie. And we found out from the district attorney who was in Upper Darby, in Delco, Delaware County District Attorney, who was looking over this case, that basically this wasn't true. That this is not how it went down. That this whole evidence of massive folks with cameras, that just wasn't true. And, I wrote that piece to really just emphasize to people that, in the midst of everything that's going on, what we can't do is perpetuate lies. what came out of that, before I get into the big elephant in the room around Marc Lamont Hill, but one of the things that I have not engaged with a lot, and I've seen this specifically with a lot of white women who oftentimes, um, you know, white feminists have the ability in various cases to step in to always either chastise black women or other people of color who share differences of opinions and viewpoints. And it's very interesting who they choose to antagonize and pinpoint in conversations of this nature, especially when they don't typically do the work to really overall understand the conversation at bay. There are a lot of white women, particularly who will sit up and not understand intersectionality between race and sexuality and gender and feminism and all these issues, right? And not understand how one particular institution can impact another differently. And this shows up in situations around crime where white women, some of them will love the police up and down and look at the police as protectors and saviors, but don't understand that that type of police state terror oftentimes impact black women or black people differently. And in conversations around police lying in cases that do involve sexual abuse and violence, I find that police lying does not help victims because of the fact that if there are witnesses, especially if they're lying on potential witnesses, because witnesses cannot step forward to actually protect and defend or help bring that person closer to justice. A lot of white women who follow my page, some of them try to, I guess, call me out and try to say, well, you're ignoring the victim by making this a I hate the cops story. First of all, to describe my piece as this is a I hate the cops, that's racist, and that's also very tone deaf. And it also just shows you how myopic your thinking is on what I was talking about here. Being mad at me and criticizing me for discussing an important aspect of a case that is very multi-level does not actually, one, bring justice for the victim, but it also does not provide a real true critique of how the system can fail victims and fail others impacted. What the police did was not only a disservice to the city at large and to black and brown communities, but also to the victim. Because when you are basically lying on potential witnesses or like mischaracterizing them, it intimidates people to step forward to tell the truth, because there were people that feared that if they may have been in the room or saw something, that there was a possibility that they could face some type of criminal consequences. And in reality, police lie, but police also intimidate, and police also cannot be trusted when it comes to even the protection of witnesses and people who do step up. So for those who were saying that my piece was deflecting on supporting victims, that's propaganda that you probably got fed by the police because they were mad that they were being held accountable. And it also shows that you lack a lot of the nuance and depth to recognize that if you're looking at this through a white woman's perspective, you might favor the police in ways that black and brown people, black women, and others who might be victims aren't. So there's a moment where you have to take a step back and ask yourself, is it right to vilify black journalists who are actually trying to bring this issue to light more? Or is it best to maybe take a step back and think before you post and rethink about how you're trying to characterize other folks? Because I saw some of that happening, and I think that sometimes people should just really check their privilege. People can go through trauma, but people can also within their trauma be problematic. I mean, it's a perfect example within the LGBTQIA community where there's a lot of white gay men who have experienced homophobia like I have, but they also can be antagonistic to black and brown queer folks within the community. And you can see those problems. You can see the same thing within the feminist movement, right? Where there is a lot of white women who talk over black women. They are being oppressed based on their sexual identity, right? Their gender identity, right? But when it comes to racial power structures and dynamics, that still coexists. So I need people to take the time to look up what intersectionality is, look up who Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw is, who coined that term, and really began to look at how race impacts these types of topics and issues before you try to mischaracterize myself and the work that I do and my intentions. And I wasn't going to go back and forth with people. I just saw some of the things that were being said, and I was like, this ain't it. That ain't me. And if that's how you received it, that says a lot about where your politics are and how much you still have to learn on that matter. But a person who should have known better from day one, who didn't, and it's time for me to really talk about it. I wasn't ready to tell this story. I wasn't ready to come forward. But after what happened this week regarding to the scholar Marc Lamont Hill, which I know a lot of you noticed, some of my podcasts, I kind of, you know, don't really care much for him. I don't go far on why. I don't really talk about what my experience was with him or several situations, for example. But I think what happened this week was very infuriating, and it was something where I was like, you know what? I think it's time to put this in perspective. So let's start from this particular situation, and then let's take it all the way back. So this week, 2 weeks ago, I believe, Marc Lamont Hill went on his show, he has a night show, news show on Black News Network. And he reports on the news, Black news, issues happening to the Black community globally and nationally. And it's a popular show on Black News Network. People listen to it, people watch it. He's had some really interesting figures since he's had the show since, earlier this year. And, it's getting buzz on social media, whatnot. A producer from his show contacted me this week. They contacted my agent. I'm represented by Collective Speakers. So I have two agents. I have a book agent, which is at PS Literacy. And then I also have a public speaking, television appearance booking agent, like an agent that books me for speaking engagements and things like that. So I'm at Collective Speakers. My agent got contacted by a producer at Black News Network that produces Marc Lamont Hill show. They asked me to come on to talk about this because Marc, a couple of weeks ago when this SEPTA incident happened, he gave a very viral, talked about condemnation of Philadelphia passengers who, were at that time lied on, but he didn't know because, let's be clear. He drank the Kool-Aid of the police report. He drank the Kool-Aid of what was being said by the police and by SEPTA, who was making these claims that people had their video cameras out. And so he gave this long sweeping condemnation about it and basically fell for the okie doke. His producer basically was like, oh, you know what? Now that the new news has happened, my story had went viral. Everyone's talking about it. Thousands of people read it. And it was spreading outside of Philadelphia. There were national news. It was on the Griot. The Yahoo News did something referencing it. But other outlets outside of Philadelphia was covering this and covering my op-ed for Philly Mag about it. So, some people were like, yo, I remember Marc is from Philly. Marc is a Philadelphia native. And me and Marc have several people on our network. He got his PhD at Penn. I think right before I went to Penn for undergrad to get my bachelor's. He's his circles. He has the bookstore, Uncle Bobby's Books in Germantown Avenue, and I'm good friends with someone who used to work there, and close to someone who he gave a job to that became a big story within themselves, Michael White, as you all know. So I know some people who've worked there, who still work there. We are in some similar circles in the media industry and just in some of the college alumni stuff too. So Marc knows who I am. I know who Marc is. And, I was asked to come on the show by the producer. They wanted to either book me for Wednesday or Thursday, but they really wanted me to come on because they wanted me to talk about the latest updates since my story had really traveled. And also too, because Marc had, kind of fell forward, okie doke. And I think this was opportunity for him to, set the record straight, and I think that was what the intention of the show was to be providing very salient, factual information to the Black community. If something's wrong, they're humble enough to correct themselves and move forward. That was what this show was supposed to be. This is a man who is very, allegedly anti, he does not support, an abolitionist, a Marxist. He's a lot of things politically that he claims he is, So, I thought this was a thing. But I just, for receipts purposes, want to let you hear the voicemail. and then I'll follow on what else happened. But I wanted you all to hear, because receipts matter, because, people out here will say you're lying, and I just feel like it's important. So this is what I got on October 27th at 11:36 a.m., this voicemail. Listen to it.
Marc Lamont Hill, Black News Tonight, which is the primetime show on the Black News channel. And about a week or so ago, we covered the SEPTA story as soon as it broke. And Marc had a very emotional response about bystanders not responding. And then later on, reports by yourself and by others have mentioned that the police was straight up lying and creating this aura that the Philadelphia people, common folk, people who ride the subway, the L, which I worked for many years myself also, were less than, were inhumane, did not have the decency to intervene. So your article that you just wrote at the Philly Mag definitely raises that point, that important point, and we'd like to do a follow-up. So I was wondering if you'd be, long story short, if you'd be available either today or tomorrow to join our show remote with a video interview at 8 p.m. either this evening or tomorrow evening, or maybe even on Friday evening. If you can let me know, I'd like to include this in one of my pitches for today. And most probably, as long as you're available, we definitely would like to cover it. I just cannot be 100% sure, given the other news of the day, if it's going to be today or tomorrow. So please get back to me when you have a chance, and let me know if this is something you'd like to do.
All right. So that happened. Okay. And I called him. Actually, I followed up and called him after got the voicemail, and we talked, and he said, hey, he's going to go talk to them to make sure that it's going to come on. He said to me that I was going to come on Wednesday or Thursday. I put the email out for y'all to see the receipts for yourselves, but that's the voice message about what the nature and the basis of why I was supposed to be on that show. From what I know, when he was supposed to go with the other producers, they was going to contact Marc, because, Marc is running that show. I mean, this is his show. And they were supposed to, let people know what's good and what's goody. I never at the time figured out and knew for a fact if, they were going to have me there, or whatnot, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't know if, I wasn't 100% sure if Marc had known at that point if I was going to be on the show, if that makes sense. I wasn't 100% sure. And I'm going to tell you why I don't, want to tell people what the tea is, but I just wanted folks to know what the plan was and what the tea was. And it was a lot, because I was like, oh snap, there's so much going on. Does he know? Like, is this a way of him, being cool? Like, is this an olive branch? Because there is some, I want to flesh out what the background is, because there's history here, y'all. But what happened is that after he had this producer went to the meeting, I get a text message from him at 12:55 p.m. that day on that Wednesday, 27th. It says, "Hi, Ernest. Meeting just ended. Unfortunately, we won't be covering the SEPTA story anymore, probably as time has passed on it, and that we need to follow many other pressing stories today and for the rest of the week. Thank you so much for getting back to me. Have a great day." That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, because you literally told me that this is an important story, a timely issue. We need to get this story out there. Everybody was talking about this week. First of all, you're not CNN. You're not like MSNBC, where you're covering everybody's news. This is a show that covers Black news. This was a highly talked about issue within the Black community, and that had international implications. You all were so bent on me either coming on the show the day of or the next day to keep my window open. So then all of a sudden, it just goes from, this is not timely anymore, we're not doing it at all. So that means you're not even going to correct the record that Marc drank the Kool-Aid, that y'all perpetuated bad stereotypes about our community, and this is his hometown. Interesting. So, I'm the kind of person where I ain't gonna hold you. I know when something is such is so off base. There's no other way to take it but personal and recognize that there was some other things at play. And my suspicions were true. I figured Mark pulled the plug on this because I was going to be on the show. He doesn't want to have any actual direct interaction with me because of just some of the previous spats we've had. So I got to take this all the way back. And I was for a long time not trying to, spell out the details. I don't know if I've told it. I don't know. Remember, it's something I haven't really said out loud before, but I feel like in this time, it's a full circle moment, and I need to just say it. And I'm going to tell this story. And listen, I got pictures, I got receipts, I got the pinpoint details. This happened to me. So let's bring this all the way back. And this is why I don't deal with Marc Lamont Hill. This is why even doing the show, I thought I was under the impression like, oh, maybe Marc was a different person. Because it's been many years since we've had some of our previous clashing. Maybe there's a different energy. Maybe people grow up. This situation happened in 2013 when I was a student at Penn in undergrad. So, people can change. Or so I thought. But here it goes. So let's back this up. As you all know, that when I was in college, I also was a contributor to the Huffington Post. In November of 2012, I was 21 years old. I won an essay contest. I won a contest that when Ariana Huffington, who then at the time owned the Huffington Post, before it was HuffPost, I won a writing contest. She was a speaker at Penn. This was, November 2012, and won this contest, got published, and made a connection where when I met her through a meet and greet at this event, she was very kind. I gave her my card because a lot of Penn kids carried business cards back then. We were so pretentious. I gave her my card. She gave me her card. I emailed her when the story came out. I said, thank you so much for this opportunity. I would love to work with you in the future down the road. And this is me, 21. I was a junior in college, just a hopeful. And she was like, if you like, we can, you can start writing with us now. And she got an editor to set me an account. And I started doing freelance and writing for the Huffington Post, in 2012. So I was writing nationally at a very young age and getting some buzz, I do kind of feel in a way like a little journalism prodigy, local media prodigy, whatever. I definitely had an opportunity to do something that so many people my age at that time wasn't doing on that scale. Huffington Post was a lot different than what it is today. Thinkers, politicians, academics, scholars, these people were putting out these pieces. We were the people that were doing think pieces before they were called think pieces at that point. They were called blog posts. But think pieces, essentially, I was writing the original think pieces that people would know later on. But that was 9 years ago, right? Because it's about to be November 21. Damn, it's been 9 years. This has been a minute. So that was 9 years ago. That was my first big national push, early. So when I tell people I'm not new to this, I'm true to this, it's because I've seen a lot of things at a young age when I started my career. I've been blessed to be able to have certain moments and experiences. And so at that time, I was young, man. I was a junior in college. I was so excited. And one of the things I loved about writing for HuffPost was that, it was equilibrium, right? You was published alongside all these great thinkers and these people who had thoughts. I remember when it was who was there? Cornel West, I think, did guest post, Eric Michael Dyson. A lot of people professors at Penn who were teaching courses at Penn were getting published, and they were looking at me like, yo, that's my student. It was just dope. And it gave me exposure to what that internet was like, because I was on Twitter in the early, Twitter many years ago when it was a different type of Twitter, right? And Black Twitter was in its emergence. Black Lives Matter hashtag was just about to come because it wasn't 2013. It wasn't 2013 yet. We were talking about scandal. This was just a different phase, and I'm very happy now that I was a part of what that identity was becoming. And I was in it in a way that was very known, right? Folks was writing blog posts, and then people were debating about it, and this was the culture. And now it's become something else of a cesspool. But at that time, it was different. So, one of the things I always would have loved to do was I wanted to be on HuffPost Live, because that's what would happen if you had a really great piece that went viral, or you was just a big news of the day person. You could get on HuffPost Live, and that was a big moment because you was going to get this big exposure. And so for me, my goal was, when I was writing those pieces, that this would be an opportunity for me to go on HuffPost Live and get exposed to a wider audience. Because at that time, I was in college. I was like, what's my next moves? I want to get a job. I want to, build my brand. And I was just in love with journalism. So Marc Lamont Hill was the host of HuffPost Live at that time. I mean, he had already been at Black Enterprise. He had already been at Fox News. He was at the Inquirer at one point, I guess Daily News, doing a column. He had jumped around many jobs. He's a man of many jobs. But he was at HuffPost Live at the time. And he used to have a thing for bringing pen people on. A lot of times he had a little bit biased because it was like Kappas. Like, he always had his like Kappas, because he's a Kappa, and he would bring some of his folks on the show. But I was like, okay, this brother went to Penn. This could be an opportunity to, maybe there's a Penn connection if I write something that's worthy to hit their attention. So November, I started writing for HuffPost at 12. January of 2013, there's a moment. And the moment is that my class 2014, our class board had got tickets for us to go to the Sixers game. And back then, Sixers were not as great as I don't know how they are now. I mean, a lot better now than they were then, right? So we had got tickets to the Sixers game. There's 2 Sixers games I remember, because I don't really go to basketball games. But I remember a Sixers game years ago when they went against the Cavs in Halloween, and they hung up Allen Iverson's jersey and they beat the Cavs in Philly. And that was like years ago. And LeBron was playing, I believe. I think he was with the Cavs then, and the 76ers won that game. And I think that was the day they put Iverson's jersey. And I think it was Halloween, or like close to Halloween. And this was years ago, maybe like 10 years ago. Shit. It was a moment. It maybe was 2012, who knows? But I just remember that game. But that was that one game. And then after that, this particular game was miraculous. So this was the Sixers playing the Raptors January of 2023. 2013. It's been a minute. So January 2013, I'm at this basketball game. It's the 76ers playing the Raptors. Jamarcus and I went, because you went with him. He was able to bring a friend. So we went to the game together. And I never forget, because we got a picture of us in the little screen thing where they do the little cameras. And someone got a picture of us like being excited to go to games. Gays at a basketball game. It was so much fun. So we're like, got some good seats. We're like close to the floor, but not on the floor. We're not courtside, but we're a little bit near it. We could see the action. And we was with the rest of the group, and we had our Sixers shirts on. Like, I have all of these pictures. I remember this shit, y'all. Y'all could Google. Like, I'm telling you, I have receipts for days. I don't sleep on receipts. I was super excited. I was, it was like a cool game or whatever. And I hadn't been there in a minute. So we was there, and I saw Marc Lamont Hill sitting courtside, and I think he's with his daughter. Yes, he was with his daughter. And I don't remember if he was eating sushi, but what I remember a little bit about that moment was that I remember people was eating sushi at a basketball game. I was like, who would eat sushi? I don't know if it was him or somebody near him, but I just remember seeing sushi. I remember seeing the little girl, his daughter, and she was cute. And I remember seeing him, and I was like, oh my God, that's Marc Lamont. I remember telling Jamarcus, and Jamarcus will tell y'all this story, y'all. He remembers this story. See, we don't forget over here. So I was like, oh snap, that's Marc Lamont Hill. And I was like, yo, HuffPost Live, like, yo, I need to make this happen. So I went up to him, I think towards the end of the game, I was like, hey, hi, my name is Ernest Owens. I was a Penn. I'm a huge fan. Here's my card. I always wanted to go to HuffPost Live. I write for HuffPost, blah, 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 blah. And he was as cool as a cucumber. It was like, yeah, contact my people. Gave me his card, gave me the email on it. It was like, contact my people, and whatever, let's talk. I was like, wow, okay, this is dope. I was super excited. Who would have never known that basketball and sporting outings is where you get the real networking going? Okay, maybe I should go to more. Never going to go to an NFL game. Fuck the NFL. But I was like, maybe I should go to more of these NBA games. This is where the people be at. So I was excited, man. So I emailed him a couple of times at that time, sent my resume attached, everything. Didn't hear back from anybody from his team. Nothing. So I was like, oh, maybe he's busy. Who knows? Whatever. February comes, and this Tyler Perry movie comes out called Confessions of a Marriage Counselor. And it was salacious. Journey Smollett was in it. Kim Kardashian. Tyler Perry directed it, of course. And it's so fucking problematic. And I hated it. I hated it. Hated it. I hated it. And I wrote this piece for HuffPost talking about Tyler Perry and how he had a history of always shaming educated black people. Like the educated black, he always vilified educated black folks. Like in all of his films, the lawyer was always the bad guy. The teacher, the professor, the techie, like everyone that was black and educated or any of that nature was always vilified a certain way. And the women in his films would have to be humbled and they had to date people that did not necessarily match their ambitions. It was just a very fucked up thing. And he continues to do this in his films. But I wrote this piece about how it made me feel as a black man who was in Ivy League education and, was aspiring to be smart, and like how I just hated those type of perceptions of men like myself in Hollywood. And the piece went viral. A lot of people shared it. It was a big talked about thing. It was like when the most read was on the most read tab on the site. People was just buzzing about this piece and this article referencing it. It was a thing. I get contacted by the producers. See, it's in the pattern here. I got contacted by the producers of Post Live. I never forget this, y'all. They had said, we love you to come on the segment and do, an episode, be on the episode. You'll be with Mark to talk about Tyler Perry films and his issues and blah, 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 blah. I was like, wow, he's looking out for me. Wow. Yo, this happened. This is so surreal. So I'm excited, yo. I'm like, yo, this is a moment. And I remember hitting up my friends like, yo, I'm going to be on HuffPost Live, y'all. Y'all got to set your thing. Because I was in class. And listen, I've talked about this before, but I used to skip class to do radio appearances, TV appearances when I was in school. I was really invested in my journalism career, and I realized a lot of it couldn't be facilitated in a college atmosphere that was very much so hit the books. And I passed, graduated, it was fine. But there were times where I was like, look, I got a TV interview. Okay, I can't go to class. Now, don't try this at home, kids. But I was like, I'm about to be on HuffPost Live. I love this communications class, but this class is not going to take me to where I want to go right now. So I would cut class sometimes to do interviews. So I had skipped class to get ready for this interview because I was doing it, mobilely. So I had to have my laptop computer screen right, all of that stuff. So they had asked me prior to the show, what are some talking points and some key points I want to hit about my article, because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll run through some talking points through the screen and quotables while you're discussing and talking. So I was referencing parts of my article, I was sending them my points, and I was just letting them know what my stance was. So when you go on air, everybody know what everybody's positions are. They do what they call a pre-interview. So I did all of that pre-interview. I gave talking points, I did all of that. I'm ready for the show. I think it's supposed to start at noon, I believe. I think noon was the time they told me to get ready to be on. And I want to say around 11:30, 30 minutes before the show, they say, yo, we're cutting the segment. Mark, can't do it. He's doing something else. It's a whole different thing. I was like, okay, cool. Say less. I'll, do something else. Damn. I was like, damn, this is supposed to be my moment. I was really excited. I was like, you know what? It'll come back, But I was like, I want to watch it and see what toppled me. What's the breaking news? What's the thing that was better than this segment? Because you're just always gonna be curious, what caused it? What happened? Well, he did do a segment on Tyler Perry. It was called Everybody Hates Tyler, which was supposed to be a joke on Everybody Hates Chris. So he did a segment about Tyler Perry, and here I am seeing my talking points and some of the things that I sent to those producers about what I was trying to say and critique. He is using them and referencing them on the show. He's not named in my name. He does not cite my article. No shout out to the fucking article that kind of inspired that conversation. Nothing about me at all. He just completely does his thing, and I'm hearing points that I was gonna make brought up and discussed and all of that shit. I got fucking sacked. I said, wow, this is not happening. What the fuck? It was wild to me. And I knew it when I saw it. I knew it when I fucking saw it. And I was like, okay. Interesting. Long story short, I was on HuffPost Live many other times. Mark ends up not working there anymore. He ends up getting a new job, but we'll get to what happens after that. But at that time, I was pissed. I ended up later on writing other articles, getting booked on HuffPost Live for other things, but not through Mark. Mark and I never did a segment together. I was always booked for other hosts because there were other hosts on HuffPost Live, but never was in Marc Lamont Hill segments. Not that I rejected them. They never put me on with Mark. Other producers for other hosts that did HuffPost Live had me on for other things, but we never was on. And I was just like, okay, this is how the industry works. This is how the old eats the prey, the young. This is how they do. Like Mark is about to be 44 years old. I'm 30. So we got an age gap. He's from a different generation than I am. But like I hear in the industry how a lot of some of these old heads do get very, very, competitive. And the thing about Mark is that it's a lot of men that's like that in the industry, right? Somebody may have done that to him. He's one of those people where he occupies a lot of check boxes for people, even check boxes that he doesn't claim to check box on. It's just like he likes to be in the room and be everything for everybody. And there is a gatekeeping culture in this media space where you see a lot of people like him and others. You see it, y'all see it, that it's like, at some point, when do you evolve? At some point, when do you get into something else? This is what I say about y'all Gen Xers. That's why I can't fuck with y'all Gen Xers like that. Because y'all Gen Xers, y'all really be on that bullshit, right? Like, y'all are supposed to have advanced and evolved into new things. Not continue to occupy these spaces that's supposed to be opened up for people like myself who's emerging. Like, I'm emerging. Why is that happening? So that happened to me at 21 years old. I am 30 years old today. Thank God for having talent. Thank God for having real people that did not crush my dreams, did not let be barriers. Because there's a lot of people in this industry. Oh my God, I could write a book. About how some of these people play. Especially cishet men, allegedly, that are oftentimes blocking Black queer people from opportunities. They want to speak for us, but they won't let us speak at all. We don't get the mic unless there's compromises to be had, or unless we have to work up under them or whatever. They don't pass the mic. They don't. They pretend they're allies, they pretend they're comrades, they pretend they're in solidarity, but it's only when it's under their purview that they are in that space. And that's the kind of person I think Marc Lamont Hill is, to be quite frank with you. So let's keep going, because there's clearly things that follow up that leads to this, because it didn't stop there. 2014, I had the wonder and opportunity to go to the BET Awards. There was a communications exec that had been at BET for years, and we met in LA because at that point it was my senior year, second semester. As you know, I was taken off the market by now my husband, but at the time was my boyfriend. And I was in my second semester, my senior year. And at that point, I was just going for mine. I was like really doing a lot of internships, traveling. I was getting flown out to LA to cover things. I was doing a lot of work. I was writing a lot of freelance stuff for HuffPost. And I was just making things happen, y'all. And some of y'all remember some of this in my previous story. But I was making a lot of things happen. And when I went to LA during Spring Fling, my spring break, which Spring Fling, was it Spring Fling? Yes, it was. I didn't go. And that was the year Kesha performed. And that was supposed to be a dream, man. Because we've been wanting Kesha to do Fling at Penn for years. And like, since TikTok came out, the song TikTok, not TikTok kids. But when TikTok came out in 2010, when Kesha was like at her height, when Animal was out, I mean, that album, listen, rave. We wanted her to come at Fling. But then she finally came in 2014. So it was a moment, but I couldn't even get to see her because I was going to LA interviewing gospel artists and things like that. So when I was in LA, I met a BET executive. We hit it off really well. She was an awesome woman, incredible woman. And she was like, yo, I need some support at the BET Awards. Would you like to come? And I was an apprentice under her, basically. So I was all over the BET Awards 2014. It was hot. Nicki was still, great. Iggy Azalea was coming in at the time. It was a moment, man. It was a moment for the culture. And I was like, oh, snap. Miley Cyrus was a big name. I mean, it was just a year. So I went out there, and what I was excited about was the BET experience. They had Outkast like doing like this little mini reunion tour, and Outkast was performing. I was like, oh my God, Outkast is my favorite group ever. Like, I love Big Boy, I love Andre 3000. Like, these are like, oh my God, this is gonna be the year. So I was an apprentice under her, provided assistance. I was staying at the Ritz-Carlton, her hotel, the main hotel where all the stars was at. I mean, this is when T.I. came out. He was beefing with Floyd Mayweather. There was Lamborghinis. Trey Songz had a private party with Chris Brown. You couldn't bring your cell phone. I mean, this was like, woo, this was the moment. Future wasn't the Future we know today. He was still coming up, and he had a little mini concert next to the hotel. We was at the Ritz-Carlton. Okay, it was lavish. I felt like I was in Hollywood. I was straight out of college, June 2014, BET Awards, LA. I never seen anything like this in my life. I was overblown, but I was so grateful for the experience. So, here's a fun story. The Friday before the BET Awards, I can't remember if it was Saturday or Friday, but it was before. It was a day of the BET Experience concert with Outkast. I was out there, LA Live, remember like it's day. I went to a froyo shop. I think it was called Red Mango. I don't think it was Pink Mango. I think it was called Red Mango. But it was a froyo shop in LA. See, I remember places and dates because you got to match these receipts the fuck up. I think it was called Red Mango or Pink Mango, but it was a frozen yogurt spot that was right there next to that the Staples Center, because I think that's where the BET Awards was, like having the BET Experience, all the celebrities and stuff. So I saw Bow Wow, Snoop, Justin Bieber. I took a selfie. It was a whole thing, and it was midday. It was very sunny, and I went there to get some frozen yogurt, and I saw Marc Lamont Hill there. At this point, Marc Lamont Hill was doing so he was getting ready to do correspondence work with BT. I think HuffPost was still in play, but it was kind of dwindling. But he got a new job at BT doing some correspondence stuff. I think he was doing some stuff with Viacom across the board, maybe some stuff with VH1. I remember he started doing some other stuff down the road, but I just remember at this moment, it was like he was doing some stuff with BT. Something on that line. But I saw him, he saw me. I said, hello. He did this thing where he did the whole, you're Ernest, right? Like he kind of didn't know my name, but did. It was like he said my name. I was like, yeah, I'm Ernest. Nice to meet you. Talking to him. And I didn't bring up what happened. I was, let me fill this dude out. I was like, hey man, what's up? Hi, how you doing? Good. So he's like, I think he asked me what I'm doing here. I said, I'm with the BT exec, I'm doing some, media stuff or whatever. He was like, oh, cool. I said, oh, wonderful. So, what are you doing? What stuff are you getting into? And I just remember that there was this air of him being like, he got kind of a little Hollywood where it was like, oh, I'm out here doing my thing or whatever, some stuff. I said, oh, what events? Maybe we'll see each other at some events. And he said to me, and I will never forget this. He said, oh, I'm at a couple of things, some stuff, you won't be at. And it was like this dismissive, like, oh, you won't be there. Like, it, doesn't matter. It was like this vibe of how he said it and his whole cadence. But it was very dismissive. It was very short. And he was like, it was clear that he really, really trying to talk to me. And I was like, okay. It was a little awkward to me. And I was like, oh, well, it was nice meeting you, whatever. And it was just quick. He was quick. And he was on his phone. He's always on his phone. Or he always act like he's doing something important. It is what it is. But it was just like something about this is just off. So, karma is a bitch, y'all. Later that night, my mentor, who I was an apprentice to, she gave me these really exclusive tickets. She couldn't go to the Skybox. She had tickets, they had this private invitation to I guess they call it a Skybox or whatever it is. Listen, I'm not used to all this shit, but it was like a box and at the concert where Outkast performed. And they're in the box. These tickets, this is top secret VIP. You couldn't take pictures. I took pictures though. But you couldn't take, you had to come in there chill. You couldn't do the most. This was a very A-list VIP box. And inside there was an open bar. And this, y'all, I think this is probably like the first crazy open bar I ever been to. Because I was at that point I was 22. So I hadn't seen this life. Now I'm very familiar with open bars. But this was wild. So she's like, it's open bar, it's food, go there, have a good time. I want to just tell you that I appreciate you for just, being here and doing your thing. It was the sweetest, one of the kindest gifts I have ever received. So I go in there, y'all, Miley Cyrus is there with Mike Will Made It. She was sitting on his lap. Future and Sierra was dating at the time. And Sierra bought a bottle of Cristal. Sierra, if you ever hear this episode, please confirm this. She bought a bottle of Cristal for the room. And she made it rain. I mean, she bought everybody in there a glass. I had Cristal. I never tried Cristal in my life. I just remember tasting it, being like, oh, okay. But it must have been good. It's just the fact that I had it. Oh my God. Listen, I was just grouping out. Miley Cyrus was in there with Mike Will Made It. I think Mike Will Made It's mother was there. And I think they were trying to keep on know that they were dating or not. But she was on his lap. And I was like, wait, I think they're dating. Keke Palmer was there. Keke, if you're there, please remind the girls. Tell them, I took a selfie with Keke Palmer. I could not help myself. I love her. Regina King was there. Oscar winner. Okay? Regina King was there. I took a selfie with her. Y'all, I keep my receipts. We was in there, in that room. And of course, Marc Lamont Hill's there. Marc Lamont Hill had his daughter with him. He didn't say much to me. I think he kind of gave me like a little head nod or something, but he really was not trying to talk to me. And I mean, it was cool. It wasn't like we was, it was interesting. But at that point, I was like over him in my mind. I was just so over him. I was like, this dude, fuck him. So, I'm there grooving with the A-listers, trying to keep my cool, people in the room trying to figure out who the fuck I am. Because, everybody in that room was somebody. And at that point, I wouldn't say I was a nobody. I just would say I was just not famous. And I didn't have a verified account. I didn't have any of that. But by the graces, I felt like I was somebody in that room, y'all. So, oh my goodness. Wow, this is an epic podcast episode. But listen, I miss y'all. So Mark gets, Mark is going through what he's going through, whatever. And then Outkast is doing a concert. I'm listening to them, they're rocking, I'm drinking, I'm, having a good time. I remember I asked the guy for a Patron margarita because I was like, oh, Patron is here and I want to try Patron margarita. And he made me one. It wasn't that good. Not because he wasn't good. It's just that Patron should not be a margarita. It should just be its own thing. Anyway, Big Boy is up there on stage. And basically he calls him a stupid ass bitch. And I remember it because I was on stage. I was in the room. So backstory is that Big Boy dissed Marc Lamont Hill on stage at the BT Experience. Because what people gotta understand is that it was a lot of confusion, but let's just keep it 100. Let me give y'all an abbreviated version. Marc Lamont Hill had been talking shit about Big Boy for a minute. And I remember some of it because even on HuffPost Live on some episodes, he was just like always acting like Andre 3000 was the better artist of the group. I'm not going to debate who is what and what is true and what's not true. But all I'm saying is that Outkast is Outkast, and no one needs to be dissing Outkast or throwing shots. Like, let them two men, those brothers coexist. They're both great, equally great in their own right. Andre 3000, one of the best lyricists of all time. Andre 3000, one of the greatest lyricists of all time as a rapper. He's got some of the best verses, underrated. And Big Boy is one of the biggest musicians and creative geniuses that we've had. The two of them together is a incredible powerhouse force that cannot be broken. And for anybody to try to pit them against each other or throw shots, it's just stupid, right? So for a long time, Big Boy had been targeted by Marc Lamont Hill. Big Boy was minding his business, and consistently Marc Lamont Hill always was throwing jabs and always having Big Boy's name in his mouth. So, of course, eventually, somebody's going to get tired of it. And so, on stage, during his performance, during the BT Experience, he called Marc Lamont Hill a bitch. In front of the entire stadium. Everybody made noise. I remember he was like, stupid ass bitch. He was doing like a verse. And then he said Marc Lamont Hill's name. The whole room went wild. And the thing is that Marc Lamont Hill tried to play it off thinking that it was about a tweet he made that night, which is basically he said something that so Big Boy is doing his solo set now, quote, this is where the homie at Bomani_Jones turns up and I check my email. So he threw a diss. He was trying to be shady. But Mark tried to, I guess, he was already giving them praise, but he was giving praise to Andre 3000 because Andre 3000 was killing it. And I guess the notion was that Big Boy caught a glimpse of the tweet and decided to address it, but that's not really what happened. That's not, I think, what happened. I don't think that was a snap reaction to a tweet. It was something that I think had been prolonged, consistent, that this dude kept on throwing these shots. And it was real. So, Marc Lamont Hill, Twitter was buzzing. he was trying to, backpedal, talking about, quote, I actually was just clowning my homie because we had a debate about which Outkast was better. I guess, and this is about my tweet. I've been an Outkast fan since '94. Was teasing. He kept on trying to clean it up, but the fans knew that this had been going on for a minute. That he had consistently kept throwing shots. I mean, he literally said that Big Boy was the Chris Bosh of Outkast many years ago, which was a diss to making the point that Andre 3000 was LeBron James of the group. Like, it was a lot of disses. And anybody know Chris Bosh and all that, y'all know that was a diss. He had been doing this, and Big Boy had enough. So he called him a stupid ass bitch. And I agree. Marc Lamont Hill is a stupid ass bitch. I mean, that's how I felt. Now, Mark tried to play the sympathy card and say, he did it for my daughter. Big Boy didn't know your daughter was at the concert. And quite frankly, should have been talking shit. That's what people say. Like Cat Williams say, should have been talking shit. It's just, all I got to say is that to me, karma was being in a room that no one thought I was ever going to be in at that moment with a man who pretty much tried to, gatekeep me out, drinking Cristal by the legendary, the famous Sierra, while one of my favorite bands of all time is calling this man a bitch in front of a crowd. That to me was karma. That to me was divine intervention. Whatever spiritual divine entity that made that moment happen, that was a moment. And I never felt comfortable telling that story to everybody, but at this point, I'm ready. It's here. That's what happened. And ever since that moment, not that I ain't do with Outkast doing it, wink, but that was a moment for me to understand the power of how to treat people, and that you just never know when people are going to land. Like, I'm never someone who sees a young person or someone that's hungry or someone that's trying to do something and look at them and dismiss their dreams, because that person can one day be in the same room. You just never know where people are going to end up in life. And that was a moment for me, because I saw it in my life that made me be a different person or think about this differently, or how fame impacts people and how people treat people. I mean, granted, we're all going to make mistakes, but I just do feel like there are those moments like that remind you you're never too big to turn up short. And so I was able to witness that live, and I felt like that was justice. So, Yeah. Uh, just excited. Just excited. So, um, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. Many years since that incident, well, not that many years since, that was 2014, 2016, me and him had a couple of spats and disagreements on Twitter, but one of the big things that really kind of ended any type of real thought that Mark was that dude was 5 years ago. I wrote an op-ed in Philly Mag when I was a columnist, and the piece was about telling Mark Lamont directly that we cannot afford a Trump presidency. In 2016, Mark was very on this whole, I'm a Marxist, I'm this, I'm that. He just really liked to play into this bubble. He has so many different identities that he tries to tap into. And he was based on this whole, I'm not voting for Hillary, I'm not voting for it. And listen, this is his personal preference. I know people who did. He was a Jill Stein supporter, Green Party supporter. And he didn't vote for Obama in Obama's second term. He voted for Obama, I believe, the first term, but not the second term. He was very much like wanting to be that contrarian. And I think that a lot of media personalities like him oftentimes will choose to go to one extreme to another for the sake of relevancy until it bites them in the ass, which kind of happened with him with CNN. But there's a lot of people that do that because they're trying to keep themselves spunky. I mean, I get it. Being a straight man can sometimes be very boring and mediocre at times, especially when you're not original. And so you got to find ways to like reinvent yourself. Dabble in pretending to be queer. I'm not talking about Mark in this situation. I'm just saying in general. Dabble in queerness. Dabble in some type of, political party that you don't know shit about. Read crazy books and try to create your own meta. Like, I just... A lot of guys do that. Straight, boring men typically try to find ways to invent themselves or reinvent themselves and ways to try to keep themselves relevant. Because, women are always out here killing it, especially women of color. And of course, queer people are just like by default, super cool by default. So I just felt like there was an interesting phase that during an election, it was just like, dude, this is a consequential fucking election. And you're doing everything. Yeah, like, I get it. But then again, it's like, I don't understand what the fuck you're saying. Because you knew Jill Stein was not going to win. And so why are you pushing Jill Stein heavy when you know that Trump's going to be elected? This whole they're both bad. Yes, they both have their flaws. But at the end of the fucking day, Hillary Clinton as president over Trump would have been a very viable option than fucking having Trump for 4 years. So this whole we can afford a Trump presidency, talking about revolutions, that motherfucker, you didn't do that. You didn't create revolution when Trump was elected. You opened a bookstore. You expanded your fucking media enterprise. You just made more of use of yourself. You didn't do the revolutionary things. Was not on the floor. You wasn't shooting with these people in the gym, really fighting the revolution. You was expanding your empire and doing everything else other than. Like, sit down. Like, it's the performance for me. You was not. When people really lost their rights, when black people, when trans women were getting their rights restricted, when queer people had to wait another fucking 4 years to have hope that the Equality Act may or may not pass, you was not that dude. You was not that dude. You was too busy talking to talk because it sold for you. It made money for you. You could afford a Trump presidency. A lot of people couldn't. Yeah, he didn't really like that piece that much. And after that, yeah, we don't talk. We wasn't talking, and it wasn't a thing. I remember the day Trump got elected. I remember a couple of my friends and we were just like dissing all those guys like him and others that talked all that shit, because it was like, what the fuck now? And they didn't have answers. But that was when I lost a great deal of respect for him. It was 5 years ago. I mean, I already lost respect for him for like fucking sacking me, but that was just like, you're intellectually pissy. You're just not a good person across the board, and you're a total ass. So when I, 5 years later, got this invitation right now from his crew, I thought maybe this was his way of being like, look, I see this happening out here. Life is too short. A pandemic didn't happen. I know he had got COVID and stuff happened. I just thought maybe, hey, people will be different. But people be on the same shit, just a different day. So that's why Marc Lamont Hill and I don't bang each other. I mean, the bookstore is cool. The food could use some work, but So, well, I'm looking at it. I took some advice from some of you all. Wrapping up, I wanted to wrap up with you all about some things about the show. I saw Made. I watched the show Made on Netflix. You guys were right. It's incredible. It's a very good show. I watched all 10 episodes. It's a miniseries. Anika Noni Rose. Can we give her an Emmy nomination or something? I mean, she was just breathtaking. But the show centers around, and Andie MacDowell. Oh my God. She's, every time she's in something, she's always gold. She's such a great actress. The lead actress who played the main character, the maid, quote unquote, she was good. This is I don't want to talk too much of the show. I mean, many of you are probably watching and catching up, but I did watch it. I did like it. Definitely it was breathtaking. The boyfriend is the actor who was in Love, Simon, who played a gay character. Many years later, he's straight in real life. He's cishet, but he plays this new character, and it's almost like I forget about Love, Simon. I forget, like, he's an entirely different person in this, and he's a great actor, and he did a really good job. I really liked the miniseries. It was a very good show, and what I appreciated most about the storyline arc is that it centers around a woman who's in this abusive relationship with her baby daddy, white woman, and these are like white trailer, poor, impoverished white folks, like okay, and she leaves him. It's not a physically abusive relationship, and that is an important detail to make because as she goes through social services and go through the system, there's barriers where she can't get resources to get a job. She struggles, man, and you find how the system fails women in domestic abusive relationships, whether it's mentally or physically. Like we learn a lot about how it's hard for women in this country to get the proper resources in the system. I thought it was a very good critique and commentary about that system because we sometimes ignore it because oftentimes abuse isn't always physical. It's verbal, it's emotional, it's financial, purse strings, It's a lot of things that go along with abuse. And I think this show really highlighted the complications. I don't want to tell too many details because I want y'all to really enjoy the show. But it's a very full, fleshed out show. It's based on a book. And it was really fully fleshed out. I really enjoyed it. I encourage you to watch it. Now, Queen fucking Sugar. I know a lot of y'all may be watching it or not watching it, but Ralph Angel finally got it handed to him, and it was by Hollywood. Hollywood's a character in the show. Ralph Angel's a crybaby in the show. Love him in real. The actor Kofi, he is so fine. He's a very good looking man, and he is playing Ralph Angel, and Ralph Angel's character is just such a very, like, you want to shake him and hug him and kiss him at the same time. He is just so much, but he's also a very good character portrait of certain levels of Black masculinity that often does not be given vulnerability, sensitivity, and all of the things that make a Black man. And I thought this was beautiful. This show is heavy. Ava DuVernay loves heavy shit. We talk about sometimes it could go bad or worse for her with it, but with this episode, it was a heavy episode, but it was just, so good, so good. Now for impeachment. Woo! We're getting there, y'all. We're in it. I think we're getting ready with episode 7 now or whatnot. Oh my God. Impeachment. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're at the point where Bill Clinton has to admit to the American people that he did, in fact, have sexual relations with this woman. And it's just so good. Hillary has her moment. This episode is what I call the Hillary Clinton episode. This episode is going to get Edie Falco a supporting actress nomination or whatever for a miniseries. This was the episode. I said, okay, Edie Falco, I see Hillary in you. She doesn't exactly look like Hillary, but she embodies the spirit and she kills it. And I was like, this is Hillary. I felt Hillary. And I just want to say Clive Owen as Bill Clinton is scary. It is scary. I don't see Clive at all. And I'm a big Clive Owen fan. I told you I watched him on his best film. I mean, he did, I think, Children of Men, but Closer. Watch Closer tonight. Here's a fun, great film that came out like 17 years ago. I was a young boy when this movie came out, and I was a big theater nerd, and I remember there was a Broadway play about it, but then it was a movie. Jude Law, Julia Roberts, Natalie Portman, Clive Owen. Does it get any fucking better than that? They're in this crazy adult love story that is complicated, sexy, grown. It is fun. I think it's on HBO Max, but I encourage you all, your homework assignment is to watch Closer. It is great. It was directed by the late, great Mike Nichols. Clive Owen and Natalie Portman both got their first Oscar nominations in the supporting categories for this film. They won Golden Globes, but then of course they lost to the great Cate Blanchett for The Aviator, and of course the legendary man, or as I call him, God, Morgan Freeman for $1 Million Baby. But at the Golden Globes they both won, and it was incredible. And I feel like this particular role for Natalie Portman definitely changed my viewpoint about her as an actress and how she can take it to the next level. Because eventually, years later, she would star in one of my favorite films of all time, which is Black Swan. And then she will, of course, be in Jackie as well. But this was great. And then Clive Owen was just a breakthrough. He is so... He's an exceptionally good-looking Brit. Underrated. Very underrated. Because Jude Law was the man back then. But I was like, y'all not looking at Clive Owen. Clive Owen got a different type of swag. Like, I like that swag. Clive Owen is... Yeah. I'm not saying he reminds me of Barry, but like there's a sexy, grown subtleness where it's like I got personality and spunk, but I don't got to put it all at you. Clive Owen, I mean, Jude Law is very Mr. I'm wagging my dick around. Everybody got to see me, look at me, Alfie dude. I think I don't know. I would prefer Clive over Jude. That's my opinion. But he plays a great Bill Clinton. Of course, that's all makeup. That's not how he looks in real life. But he's incredible. So, yeah. Those are the shows. So much to come. Looking forward to it. yeah, love you all. Thanks for listening. And as always, be best. Earnestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Earnestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.